streaming for me is like, I don't know what I love streaming. It's really fun. It's fun to connect with people, but I also love that the visual experience.
Yeah.
I love creating helmets. I love creating car designs. I love creating rooms. Like, I'm very artistic in that sense. So for me, I'm like, man, how can I have the best room possible?
Right.
I just want the best looking room, something unique, because the only way to stand out in life nowadays is to be creative, be different. If you just do the same as everyone else, you're just going to blend in with the crowd.
Yep.
You don't want to be, dumb about it.
No.
But you want to inspire and,
But polished, like, you have a very polished, like, everything you do, like, you can tell that you have, like, a very high standard for yourself.
Yeah.
As far as visually.
Well, yeah, just with the way I want to live my life, I just want to be the best version of myself. And that's because I'm very competitive.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I don't like losing in anything I do.
Yeah.
I don't like putting people down at the same time.
Yep.
I'm not that kind of winner.
Yep.
Like, I don't like to win by putting someone beneath me.
Yep.
I just want to be, one step up. So yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's a cool challenge for me, like the whole creativity side, but I have a vision in my head.
Yep.
Whether it's like digitally,
Okay.
how I want to manipulate the visual effects, but also the whole appearance of
the studio.
Yeah, man, I look for inspiration everywhere. Like, this room is unreal. The sound is so good. I love the I mean, it probably can't be seen, but the little Mosport wooden
I gotta hang
track.
that. I'm thinking about how to hang that behind me. I need something behind me. I don't want to just do like trophies or something, but
no, you gotta like spice it up with you have like so much. Man, you have a huge opportunity. You have so much around you.
Yeah,
you can like add in your character.
I could do something different for every episode too.
You could
have like a fancy book.
Put
or
a
something.
little Easter egg somewhere and see if people notice it. That would be
stuff like
sick.
that's good. Yeah. Oh, so you're saying you like streaming. Is that opposed to like post-production stuff? Like, you like it being live? Is that?
Yeah, I think with obviously there's two different styles of videos, and for a lot of people, like, okay, stream, what does that even mean?
Mm-hmm.
What are you streaming? Like, is it on YouTube? Well, there's a few platforms. Like, Twitch is a live streaming platform. YouTube, Facebook, like, you can live stream videos, whether it's in real life or which is referred to as IRL.
Yep.
For the longest time, people were saying IRL online, like internet talk. I'm like, what the heck's, like, man, all these people are IndyCar fans? Like,
yeah, that's what I thought too. Wait, IRL, like, I had and I'm not like in that like Reddit, like internet culture.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like slowly learning now.
Yeah.
But now I actually checked out your Twitch stream before. I'm like, IRL, you're a race car driver, IRL. In real life.
Yeah. Just learning the whole internet slang thing was like, I'm not on board with it.
Okay.
There's a bunch of things that I still don't understand. And I even make it an effort. I'm like, guys, if you're part of this whole community, we don't say things like giga.
What is it? I don't even know what that means.
Exactly.
Okay.
Apparently that's like awesome.
Oh.
It's equivalent to awesome.
10-4.
Yeah. And like doc. A doc is a setup. It's a document, or I don't know.
Like your setup, like your...
Like DOK is, people would call a setup on, like, online racing.
Okay.
They call it a
doc.
A doc.
Oh.
Like, hey, do you have a doc?
Oh.
I'm like, I talked to Wickens about this because we race with each other online a lot in iRacing. And he's like, I'm not on board with them. Like, neither am I. I'm like, I don't know what these kids are talking about, but it ain't me. You're not that guy.
Does he race a lot?
Yeah.
Online?
We actually, well, obviously, we both have pretty like hectic schedules.
Yeah.
And whenever we can, we try to like organize it. I would say I'm the supplier of docs to him.
Yeah.
No. Recently, like I've networked a lot online.
Yep.
And I made a lot of friends and really quick drivers and guys that are better than me at setups.
Okay.
Especially online.
Oh, I see what you're saying now. I was missing you.
Yeah,
so you're set the iRacing setup, like the package for the car.
Yes,
you're
exactly.
Okay, so you share that with Robert.
Yeah. So we race with each other. Like, we do endurance races. So we'll do like 2.5 hour races with each other.
Yeah.
And it's like a driver change in the middle. Stuff like that. So it's been fun. It's cool. The whole man, we're like just jumping everywhere. We're right into it.
No, I definitely want to pin you down on sim racing for sure.
Yeah.
But well, Man, let me just give you a little bit of an interview style here. I want you to tell me what got you into racing. Like, how did it start? Like, most people have a similar story, you know, and it's funny. I interviewed fellows and I threw the question like this. I'm like, you know, most people start, their dad takes them to the track, da 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 da. And he's like, well, not my dad. You know, my dad had nothing to do with cars. I'm like, oh, okay, different story. What was it like with you? Was it your dad?
Same. I mean, I listened to Ron's episode.
Okay.
And I mean, I started when I was 8.
Okay.
But my dad had no involvement in racing whatsoever. My uncle played hockey, my mom's brother.
Okay.
And I played hockey when I was like 6 years old. I went to these like power camps and
like every good Southern Ontario boy 100%. Does. Yeah,
I really wanted to play hockey. I loved it. Like I thought it was the coolest thing. And I still love hockey. Yeah. As a Canadian, as I should. And I still play. I still skate. But my mom, once she discovered, she's like, okay, he's actually not too bad. And then I started getting scouted when I was 6, 7.
Okay.
Like at 7 years old, I was a big 7-year-old. I haven't grown since. I've been like 5'8" since I was 7. So of course I was super like, all these scouts are coming along. They're like, you know, in these skill camps. Yeah. Like, okay, this kid's pretty good. Sure. And they wanted me to like play, you know, competitive hockey. I don't know what it was called, like, you know, AAA at the time. Yep. And my mom's like, "Yep, no, we're done." Yeah. Doesn't want to go through that life again because it's a tough life.
The commitment's insane.
Oh,
the driving and practice, like it's every day of the week.
It's a different commitment than racing, which we soon discovered. Mm-hmm. You know, I always loved sport. I've always been like a sports guy. Sure. You know, I knew I wanted to do that, and as I got older, I knew very much I wanted to be in sports.
So how did you? What was your first exposure at the track?
Yeah, so my dad, after my parents were like, yeah, okay, hockey's not going to happen. Like, let's just stop that. Yep. Before it gets we get too deep into it. Then my dad went karting, indoor karting. I don't even know where. I think it was like a pro kart or it was like something in I think it was in Mississauga, but it's done now. Yeah. He went there and he went with a few friends and thought, you know what, this is actually kind of fun. This is really cool. It was like indoor karting and they had a cart there for sale. It was like $900, like full. Yeah. It was a Renegade cart with a 4-stroke engine. Yep. I think it was unrestricted, first of all. Right. And I'm like it was for my 8th birthday. My dad's like, okay, cool. This is a good gift. So I came home from school on my 8th birthday and he has this go-kart in the garage.
Which is unbelievable, right? And
I drove it on the street for like 2 weeks. And we're like,
where is this? In
Markham.
In Markham.
I grew up in Markham, yeah. So my dad, he's like, yeah, let's just go for it. And I loved it, man. I was flat out right away, like full send up and down the street until cars came in. My dad's like, oh, actually, that's probably not a good idea because car versus kart, the car is going to win.
No kidding.
So at that point, when he's like, okay, shit, like, we enjoy this together. It was kind of a full family experience. We went to, you know, search what's the closest go-kart track, and from Markham, Goodwood Kartways was the closest. So we took the cart in the back of like a SUV up to Goodwood, and I drove around. And I actually have the videos of I saw them recently of like my first, you know, experience in the track, and I was quick. I was really fast straight away. Okay. I didn't know what the line was. I mean, forget racing line. What is that? But I didn't have any like fear really. I just went for it. Mm-hmm. And that's good because when you don't have the fear right away, it's easy to like kind of hone that speed.
Yeah, sure.
It's another thing to tune the fear out of a driver.
Oh, I think difficult. That's the wrong way to go about it.
The only thing I was afraid of was overtaking. I wasn't sure because I always wanted to like be correct with what I was doing. Mm-hmm. Like I wanted to follow the rules. I didn't want to like break any rules. I'm like, okay, just.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So I didn't know what the etiquette was.
You didn't want to get in trouble.
Exactly. Yeah. I was raised well. Okay?
Yeah.
Like I followed the rules.
No, I've definitely got a little bit of that in me as well. Yeah.
So it just took a while. Once I learned how to overtake, then it was game over. And I had coaching a little bit. Like I had 30 minutes of coaching, and the guy's like, yeah, okay, you know, I'm pretty sure just keep driving. Yep. So we did that.
So you started right away. You went into club racing and you ran a full season.
Yeah. I started midway through 1998.
Okay.
I was 8 years old. That was my first season. So I got the kart in April.
Yep.
And my first race was, I think, in like June or July.
Okay.
And my first race was I think it was the Canada Cup.
Oh, like a real race.
Dude, it was like, I don't know, 60 carts.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was 60 carts. I didn't make the final.
Okay.
I was in the B final.
Yep.
I don't know where I finished though. But I hated like that first race. It bothered me so much because I hated losing.
Yeah.
Like really, really badly.
Same.
And that was like my first like whooping.
Yep.
But it was tough. It was, I mean, kids were 11 years old.
And
I was 8.
Yeah, and they'd done it for 4 years at some of them.
It was like James Hinchcliffe was in it,
Yep.
and Wickens, and like all these guys, they were all older than me.
Right.
So I go in, it's like I barely practiced. You know, we just started at a couple months of casually driving at the track. And so my second race was in Peterborough.
Okay.
And I got my first trophy.
A little less competition there.
Yes and no.
Okay.
It rained.
Oh, okay.
And my dad said, as long as you don't spin out, you're going to do well.
Mm.
He's like, just slow and steady. So I was like, okay, slow and steady. So I'm just putting around. Everyone's spinning out, getting stuck in the grass.
Yep.
And I just, by default, I finished on the podium. I was like,
good.
oh, this is kind of cool.
So that was your second race.
Yeah.
So you're like, shit, I'm good.
And then I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I like this.
Yeah.
I like the feeling of winning. And my whole, like, everything I do in my career, I don't like losing. I don't think anyone likes losing. If you say you like losing, you're lying.
No, for sure. And I was gonna ask you because I from like a zoomed out view, I imagine you're a super competitive guy. And when I was young go-karting, like, dude, when I was 7, 8, like if I didn't win, I'd cry. Like, for sure. I hated losing.
Oh, I was quiet. I was very quiet. Very different. I would never do this, by the way, when I was younger.
Yeah.
It actually took me until I was probably 21 before I really started opening up and getting comfortable enough to speak, which is funny because all the experiences I had, it's insane, going to Europe and stuff, but that's just jumping ahead. When I was young, I'd drive the cart.
Yep.
I'd walked up back to my trailer and like just sit there and watch the cart being prepped.
Yep.
And I always wanted to work on the cart, but my dad was funny because I would like start to clean and he's like, "What? This is how you clean." Then he gets like 18 brake clean cans. He's like spraying everything.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm like, all right, well, you're doing a good job, so I'm just gonna continue to watch.
That's funny. So you're a pro driver right away.
Oh, instant. I was groomed from 8 years old.
Just sit and watch.
Although right now, today, I do help the guys with the car. Like I love wrapping and stickers, and that's the whole creative side.
Yeah.
But I love doing that kind of stuff, or cleaning. Just keeping my area clean, cleaning up after people, and
so
I'm OCD a little bit.
I hear you, man. I hear you.
A little bit.
So jumping ahead, your first season or your first full season is like 99. When do you start? And you had success right away, and then is there a decision like, hey, okay, we're gonna go race whatever the full Ron Fellow series or whatever it is at that time, like right away, like we're gonna go run
we went
karts?
flat out, like right into it. So at the time it was called OKRA.
Yeah.
And you remember all that,
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
A little bit before me, I never ran OKRA.
Yeah, because that ended in 2001, I believe.
Right.
Or Ron Fellows started in 2001? Sunoco Ron Fellows?
Right around there.
Yeah. So I ended up running in the U.S.
Okay.
I ran like the North American, I don't even know what it was called, like the North American Championships or something. It was at Charlotte. But we went kind of like right into it.
Right away. Wow.
Yeah. We had like, really good people around us. Mark Wilkins.
Okay.
I remember like we drove over to Norway in Illinois with Mark.
Okay.
And I remember I was like, oh my God, this guy's older. He's like, going to be a pro driver and whatever. And I was like inspired by all these people around. The DeLeos were there.
Yep.
And it was all at that time. They're all quite a bit older than me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we had that experience straight away. And
at a high level.
Yeah, and I caught the bug. And that's what really helped me. My very first U.S. race, I think it was Norway, Illinois. We drove over there. And that was on a Saturday. We raced. And on Sunday, there was a club race. So I remember driving back. My dad drove overnight. We went straight to Goodwood.
Yep.
And that's when I won my first race.
Okay.
Yeah, my very first race.
Wow.
And it was a huge field too. I think it was the Canada Cup race again, which was like a full year later.
Right.
And it was a huge grid.
Yep.
And I won.
So is that
in 99.
Is that when you, or was there a point in time when you said to yourself, okay, I'm good? Or was it even?
I think after that, like
I'm quick.
I quietly inside, like I was very quiet.
Sure. Yeah.
I can't stress that enough.
Yep.
But I didn't talk to anybody. But I hear stories now from guys like Dave Tennyson. And he was coaching other kids at the time, like same age group, same class. And he's like, yeah, all the kids were just talking. They're like, oh, damn, Morad's here. And apparently, I didn't know it had that effect on people. I was just a quiet kid. I'm like, la, la, la.
Yeah.
I like winning. I just did my thing.
Yeah.
But I walked down the paddock and everyone would be like, knowing they would lose. That's what the stories I was told.
Okay,
Those are the stories I was told.
Yeah.
And I never felt that. I just did my thing.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So then, like you had I guess that's pretty quick progression into like you're right out of the box. You're running at high level karting races, and like so you're running Canadian Nationals right away, OKRA right away. And are you winning those races like at 10 years old?
Yeah, so I won my first bear, which is like the Canadian Nationals.
Yep.
At 10.
Okay.
Against guys that were 16.
Wow.
Yeah. So
what was that?
It was like
junior
Marco
light?
DeLeo. It was a Yamaha, the two-stroke. That was my first year of two-stroke.
Okay.
So we raced in Shannonville.
Yep.
And again in the rain.
Okay.
I ended up winning.
Okay.
And it's the funniest thing because there's all these like 16. I raced 16-year-old kids because I was 10.
Yep.
And you could race junior all the way till 16 at that time.
Wow.
So the age, like at that age,
that's a huge disparity.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It was incredible. And that was like one of the biggest wins at the time for me because I was like, holy geez, I just beat 16-year-old kids.
Yep.
And there's a podium shot of me like, well, I guess I've been 5'8" since I was 8.
No, you were a little kid.
I was a little chubster.
Yep.
And then there's all these, they're twice my size. Mm-hmm. And it's just the funniest thing.
That's cool.
So that gave me motivation, like, to keep going. And that was probably my biggest win because all these guys I looked up to, it was Marco DeLeo in the race and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He was the guy at the time.
For sure.
And I beat him. I'm like, how did I even do it? I didn't even believe it myself, I
Right.
guess, if I was logically thinking, but subconsciously I was just doing it.
Right. So then, well, I want to ask you this question because I have some of my, like, I remember those summers when you're a kid and it's like, it consumed me, like the championship, like how would it shake out in September? Like that's all I thought about all summer. And like, especially battling with like one or two guys all summer. Did you have any of those championships in karting where it was just you and one other guy? It was like, he'd win, then you'd win, then he'd win.
My entire upbringing, which is probably what shaped me to be the driver I am today. Early on, it was in the four-stroke stuff, like when I was really young. Mm-hmm. Obviously there was a huge age disparity between drivers. I was 9, 10-ish, and guys were 13, 14.
Yeah.
And it was tough. Justin Maskell, I remember. Richard Boak was also quick. Travis Walker. Like, these are all guys that, they're not doing much. Richard's the only one that's kind of still
racing,
involved in motorsport. But those were the guys I'm like, oh, man, they're so quick. And I was intimidated by them because I was like a really small kid and they were a few years older than me. And that development time, like in that age, is very, very tough because everyone's bigger and they go through puberty and growth spurts. So physically, like I was like, oh my God, these guys are huge. And I was not scared, but I knew it was a challenge. Yeah, it was a challenge. But then the big rivalry, I ended up winning championships. Every year I won the OKRA, Ron Fellows, like in four-stroke, I won every single championship throughout my childhood, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Nearly all of them.
Yeah.
So it didn't go bad.
Yeah.
It went really well. And then I had the rivalry with Robert Wickens.
Right.
And that was the best one because, whether it was four-stroke or, shifter.
Yeah.
And he always had a year on me, so he always moved up a class.
Right.
And then I moved up the year after. So he had 1 year experience. So it was really challenging for me, and it pushed me to stay on that level. And he kicked my butt the first in 4-stroke. I was quick. I won the championship the first Ron Fellows year, and the second and third, and then I stopped 4-stroke.
Yeah.
I think I won all of them in a row.
Okay.
And then we're like, okay, cool. 4-stroke's done. Let's go straight shifter and do that.
And is this 80 or
80 cc shifter?
Yeah.
So they were quick.
I still have one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Man, I think I was 11 when I first started.
Which is insane.
80cc.
It's insane.
Yeah.
To think about it.
6-speed gear shift.
How fast that is for an 11-year-old kid.
My neck. I remember my very first run in it. I was like, "Rah, rah." My neck was snapping up. I think it touched the axle. I had no neck.
Oh, that's good. So Wickens was your big rival in 80.
Yeah. So he was really like, I think he dominated the 80cc my first year. I think I won a couple races, but he won the championship, and then he moved up.
Okay.
And then I won the championship. Like I think I won every race. But at that point, there was no big competition. It was like Mike Vinsek.
Yeah.
Not to say that it was bad competition, because these guys were
not
solid.
slow, yeah.
But because I had that, Wickens there.
Yeah.
It was a high level, right? And we pushed each other.
Yep.
And I was competitive. At the end of the year, I was there.
Okay.
So then the next year, I won pretty much everything. The year after that, moved up. He was in senior, and I moved up to senior, and I won.
Which is 125.
Exactly.
Or KZ, whatever you want to call it.
125
125 shifter.
So quite a bit faster.
Yeah.
You don't realize.
A lot faster.
Yeah. And again, my neck hit the axle the first time I drove.
So you were 15 when you moved up to senior?
14.
They let you move up?
Yeah. Well, Paul Cook at the time was vice president of ASN Canada, and because I had such a dominant year in 80cc, I'm like, I can't do this again.
Yep.
Because we want to just keep evolving the career.
Sure.
So at 14, I moved up to senior.
Okay.
And now it's unlimited age. Like you can be however
right.
old.
Now it's the best in the world are in that setup.
So yeah, that was crazy, because then Wickens and I again resumed our rivalry. And
how did that first year go?
It went well. We won every single race, like either myself or him.
Okay.
And that's to your point. Like, do you have one of those seasons where you guys won every race?
Yeah.
And yeah, it was 6 races, and I won 3 and he won 3.
Yeah, I've had the exact same deal.
Yeah, we like tied on points.
So it was just first and seconds?
No, it the way it worked, it like came down to like 4 times. Like you had to go back 4 steps to find a tiebreaker.
4 steps, holy
or something
cow!
Crazy.
Yeah,
yeah, and it came down to the last race where it was a really marginal call.
Okay.
Like I won the first 2 races of the year.
Yeah.
At Goodwood and Sutton.
Okay.
And at that point, it kind of changed the tone for our rivalry.
Sure.
We've been friends, and we still are.
Yeah.
And we went through a rough patch there because it was so competitive. Like you couldn't be friends.
No, I get it.
Like we had respect for each other.
Yep.
That's one thing. We never crash each other. Ever. We never put a wheel on each other. So we're very fair, and he's a very fair driver. But we didn't talk.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Like,
I get it.
It was like pretty cutthroat.
So who won the championship?
So he won.
Okay. But you guys won equal races.
Yeah. So
3 and 3.
Yeah. I had so it came down to like, I don't even know what the tiebreaker was.
It must have been like a qualifying or like time or something, like 3 races back or something like that.
I don't even know. It's like it's so long ago. That was 2005.
Okay.
That it would have been.
Yep.
We'd have to go back and check, but like it doesn't even matter at this point.
Yeah.
I thought in that moment, I'm like, this is so important. This is everything in my life.
100%.
And then you realize as you get older, like that is the most insignificant moment. It's the competition that you have is the only important thing in your life.
Yep.
Pushing each other to that level and to that performance level has helped me, because everything else, I take it for granted. I show up in these different situations, especially when I moved away to Europe. Like, I had this like, a little bit of doubt in there, as you would normally.
Yep.
But it just almost came easier because I had such a competitive upbringing.
Yes.
And I had someone there that was like really, pushing the bar.
Yep.
And we pushed the bar up together.
So you were never a sore loser though. You just got quiet when you lost?
Even when I won, I was quiet.
Okay.
I was quiet, period.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just, Yeah, I wouldn't talk to anybody. I think I had I did have friends in the paddock for sure. Like I loved, getting my WD-40 out and spraying ants.
Yeah, yeah.
I was just a dumb kid running around. And I think we all were like,
yeah, it was a different deal in the summers
now
at the track.
Data. I'm like, shit, I didn't know what data was. I still don't do data.
I had the tack on the back of my seat. I checked max RPM that session.
Yeah, when someone asks like, how's the kart or what's the gearing like? I'm like, I don't know, just feel my butt. Yeah, a little bit too high on RPMs.
Yeah,
a little bit too low.
Exactly.
It's like, I think nowadays it's such a different. I heard like Daryl talk about
the data,
and I think a certain degree of data is good, but you have to just chill out. You gotta feel it.
Yeah, yeah. For data to really affect anything, you have to truly understand what you're looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how that correlates to the driving experience.
Because if you look at data, that's only reacting to something.
Yeah.
You want to be proactive.
Sure.
And if you can feel on the spot, like in a session, you're not going to say, okay, hold on, stop the race. I have to go check the data.
Right.
You got to like feel it. If there's rain or if the grip level changes, you got to adapt.
No, I like that. Yeah.
And that's one thing that I can say my dad helped me with, because thank goodness, like he was so naive. He didn't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, well, the cart's clean. Should be good.
Yeah.
It's like,
Just drive it.
What is setup?
Yeah.
So I had to figure it out.
Yeah.
And he's like, if you don't do this time, we're not changing the cart.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, just drive it. He's like, you should be close.
Yeah.
Like, what's there to change?
Yeah. No, that's good. So that 2005 season, obviously like a super high level competitive season. That was your last season in karts?
Last full season.
Full season. Okay. Did you go down, or did you go to Europe in karts ever, or did you go to Florida and race like winter tour stuff?
Florida. So that year I ended up winning the Florida Winter Tour.
The whole championship?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's
against European drivers.
That's a big
as well.
deal.
Yeah. So it goes to show you how competitive Rob and I were when we raced, because I had beaten factory CRG drivers, like Europeans that would come over for Florida Winter Tour.
Yep.
And again, all these like big, I'm 14, 15 years old, these big drivers, I'm like, okay,
who cares?
What am I even doing here? Like, but I'm just driving, and it was pure. Like I was just winning.
Yep.
And
that's awesome. So at that time, you're 14 or 15. Do you have aspirations to be a pro race car driver?
Yeah, I think where it first hit me, like I always wanted to be, and I think my last years of karting, my head was kind of not in karting. I was already thinking, okay, I see Wickens racing Formula BMW at the time in 2005.
Yep.
So alongside racing shifters, he was racing Formula BMW, and I'm like, he was my biggest rival growing up, and I'm like, well, he's doing that. I want to do that too.
Right.
Just the way it naturally progressed from when we were younger.
Yeah.
He was always one step ahead. He moved up always 1 year before, and I'm like, okay, I want to go there now.
That's a good guy to follow.
Yeah, for sure. He kind of like led the way in a sense. And I guess he probably wouldn't even know that, but I mean, he said, and I know this, I was the only person that mattered to him.
Mm.
Even in Formula BMW.
That's funny.
His engineer and his like team owner at the time said, out of 31 drivers on the track, the only person he ever asked for was, where's Morad?
Yeah.
And me, I'm like, where's Wickens?
Yeah. That's the thing, the whole kind of, march growing up. So your last year of karting, you already have your eyes set on Formula BMW. Yeah. That's the place to be.
Yeah.
How does that, for anyone not in the know, how does that jump happen?
Yeah, it's difficult because financially, obviously, racing is built around money.
Yeah.
I mean, no money, no play.
It just costs a shit ton to do.
It's different than any other sport, because in soccer or basketball, hockey, like hockey is a bit more expensive.
Sure.
But soccer is, super easy. You get a ball, you get some shin pads and some shoes. Mm-hmm. How expensive is that?
Right.
Okay, maybe you're spending $200
Yep.
on everything. A set of tires is $300, $400,
Yeah, in karting.
Yeah. In karting.
Yeah.
So that's not including logistics, getting the stuff to the track. And nowadays it's so difficult. When I grew up, it was easier, more manageable, because you didn't have like the huge rigs, you didn't have big budgets. Now you have drivers who have 15 engines and they dyno all of them. We had one engine.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, just send it.
Yeah.
No setup, no mechanic, really. Like, it was just pure grassroots. Now,
for sure,
it's unattainable. It's very difficult to get into motorsports because of how everything's like elevated and escalated itself into like this pro level racing. Like some of the operations in karting are bigger than some entry level car racing operations.
Oh yeah.
And I think we went through a period not too long ago where it was like billionaire money involved.
Right.
And
especially in Canada.
Yeah, in
We've
Canada.
got 2 of them in Formula 1 now.
Yeah, and that spooked a lot of people because the equipment, you couldn't compete with it.
Yeah. You couldn't.
No, the equipment was too much to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
And that, in a way, it was kind of sad because you could see like there were a lot of talented guys, but they just could never shine because you can't beat that kind of power or, the mechanics or, the car
exactly
setup.
When the cart is perfect. Yeah.
When it's perfect every time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but going from karting at the time, it was pretty well managed by like my family. They weren't, they were mid-tier, like very middle of the line kind of family.
What did your dad do for work?
Yeah, so my dad was a computer programmer.
Okay.
And my mom at the time she wasn't really working, but then got into like mortgages.
Okay.
She was a mortgage broker.
Okay.
And now she has her own brokerage and she's a real estate agent.
Yeah.
And it's funny because my dad has like completely shifted. He has a passion of like building. He always loved building things. So now he has like a whole building company for houses and stuff. Yeah.
So he's a home builder now.
Yeah.
That's good. So what was that? And you guys just paid for it. Your family paid for that Formula BMW season?
No.
Okay.
We didn't have that kind of money.
Okay. What does that cost? I don't even know.
So for karting, like we had everything subsidized by the karting team, like the manufacturer. I was officially driving for nothing.
Yep.
Everything was covered.
Right.
So we had to cover expenses of like getting to the track and like things of that nature.
Stuff like that, yeah.
But if we had to really fund the whole thing, I don't know if it would have been possible.
Do you know ballpark what? And you ran the whole season right away, Formula BMW.
Well, I ran. So Formula BMW was around $200,000 US.
Oh, I had no idea it was that expensive.
It got more expensive as we went on.
Wow.
They started seeing, there's a good business model here.
Sure.
So in the beginning, it started in 2004 in the US.
Okay.
I believe, 2004. And guys like Hinch did it in 2004.
Yep.
And then Wickens did it in 2005. I did it in 2006.
Okay.
I mean, I could tell you everything about it. Just, very short story.
Yeah.
There's like a shootout that you can do in Valencia. And I got a scholarship from eKarting News to go to this shootout to try out for the BMW junior team.
So it's one weekend everyone gets in the same Formula BMW car.
There's like, 40 people that go, and I think 4 or 5 people get selected.
Okay.
So the very first time I did it, I was 15. I went to Spain, and they picked me as one of the juniors.
Did you win the race?
It wasn't a race. It was like a school.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like
cool.
a school. They'd evaluate you on many different areas. So they picked me. Mm-hmm. And my dad's like, yeah, you're not ready for this. Like, we don't have the money. I don't know how to fund it.
Yep.
So 2005 leading into the 2006 season. And then, so we're in February at this point, like the following year. Because that was at the end of the season. Then we go into February. And Ron, who's like,
Fellows.
Yeah, Fellows. Yep. He was saying, because, we were in his karting series, and he's like, at that point, maybe not ready. And then all of a sudden, you know what? I think he's ready. And then we're like, okay, let's try to find a team. So we got AIM Autosport involved. And, like, they didn't do it for any profits at all.
Sure.
It was just bare bones.
Helped you out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at that point, we'd already turned down the BMW Junior scholarship.
And what was that?
So that was like, it was a $40,000 scholarship. So,
towards the season of Formula BMW.
So it would have been about 25% of the budget.
Oh, did you go back to them? Did you call them up?
Yeah. But they're like, it's already done.
Oh no.
So
who got the scholarship?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Okay.
I can't remember who got it that first year.
Yeah.
But just a bunch of guys, like a bunch of drivers. I ended up getting it afterwards. For the following season because I won the Rookie Cup. But we scraped whatever we had. My dad sold his 2 offices. He had like 2 small units. He sold both of them, and at the time, and he's kicking himself because
I'm sure there was a lot of dough now. Yeah.
And he's like, my parents sold everything they could to put me through my first year, and then my dad's one of his friends. He used to work for this guy in computer programming.
Yep.
He chipped in the rest.
Wow.
Yeah.
So did you feel that pressure, or did you realize how much your parents had just sacrificed?
It was always like in the back of my mind. I knew I couldn't like crash the car or anything because we were tight, and I had 1 year.
Okay.
We had 1 year to do it.
So did your parents sit you down and kind of
No.
frame that? Like, hey, you've got 1 year? Or did
No,
you
I knew
just
that.
intuitively know?
I knew
Yeah.
right away. Like, I saw the sacrifice my parents made to put me in that position.
Yeah.
And although from the outside it didn't look like things were tight,
Sure.
we were like on the limit.
Yeah.
And I knew it was one shot, one
what
opportunity.
And what was
Seize everything.
Yeah.
Cue the music.
So you had to win the championship.
No, it wasn't necessarily win the championship.
Okay.
It was weird. I didn't know what the goal was. I won my very first weekend. Like,
Okay.
I showed up in Mid-Ohio and we won the first weekend.
Okay.
First race. I'm like,
Cool.
sweet. Again,
Yeah.
in the rain.
Okay.
I started 12th in the grid. By turn 2, I was P2.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I went on to win like dominant win in the rain. And it was like a 31 car field.
Yep.
And, at the time, well, Wickens was in the race and Simona Di Silvestro and
Yep.
a bunch of other guys that kind of made it up high, like really high in the ranks and
Yep.
were very, very good drivers. But
So what was the goal? Like you said, you had that one shot, that one season. What
Yeah.
was the goal that season, or what was the thing that, like, did you get it? You got the scholarship.
yeah, so the goal was to win the rookie championship.
Okay.
So within the overall series,
I see.
for the rookies, for like first year drivers, there's a rookie cup, and the winner of the rookie cup, as long as you're under a certain age, I think it was under 21, you'd get the BMW Junior Scholarship.
Okay.
So that was key.
Okay.
That was key for the next season.
Okay.
To keep going.
So you got the scholarship.
So I won the rookie cup.
Yep.
And yeah, it was a good season. Like, I was a top 5 guy
Sure.
all the time. And so we got going for the next year. We were supposed to run with AIM again, AIM Autosport. And we had been approached by Euro International, which is the team that Wickens was driving for.
Okay.
And we didn't realize this is how the business worked, but they would get the best driver
Yep.
and pay for them, like
Okay.
fully.
Okay.
So I had the BMW Junior Scholarship. That was 40 grand.
Yep.
And what they would do is they'd have other drivers on the team. They'd charge them more money. So it's 200,000 for the season. They charge 350,000.
Wow.
And they'd have like 3 drivers, and then they'd get one guy that they knew was going to win. So
to say, look, this is a winning team.
yeah, and we didn't know that that's how it worked.
Sure.
So they kept pestering me, and they called my dad like, "Oh, we want your son. We want your son." My dad's like, "This is too good to be true. It can't be. No one gives anything for free." And it was literally Tuesday, like in preseason testing, I was quickest every session. And that year was Alexander Rossi and Esteban Gutierrez racing.
Okay.
So, and it was competitive.
Yeah. No shit.
So in testing, I was quickest every time, every session. And Tuesday before the first race, we make that switch to Euro International. Like
So it was true.
yeah, it was true.
Okay.
Like, my parents were like, well, I don't know how we're going to fund this season.
Yep.
So we're like, okay, we have to just take the chance.
Yep.
And we went with it. And we brought my mechanic over.
Okay.
And it was a trade deal where that team was running in Pro Mazda at the time. They gave one of the drivers to AIM,
Okay.
and then AIM switched me over there, and like they switched cars and they sold the car off.
Okay.
It was like a full wholesale trade.
Wow.
And yeah, we went into that season and we're like, they're actually paying everything. So I'd won the first 4 out of 6 races and finished second in the other 2.
Okay.
And then
so you won the championship?
Oh yeah, I dominated.
Okay.
Like broke a record for most wins all time.
Okay.
But in that season, Helmut Marko from Red Bull approached me after. So I won both Montreal Grand Prix races, and I won one race in Indianapolis at the U.S. Grand Prix and finished second in the other one. And Helmut Marko approached me after the race on the podium and pulled me into the Red Bull hospitality and gave me a contract.
Wow. And what did that
Yeah.
contract look like?
Oh, it was the same contract as everyone got.
So what is that?
So it's a path to F1 essentially.
Okay.
So as long as you win, then
keep going.
You keep going.
And they pay for everything?
Yeah. So then,
Okay.
so I don't know how it all worked with that team, but the team was connected with Red Bull, Euro International, and Wickens was a Red Bull junior at the time.
Was he a Red Bull junior the year before you?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So
Exactly.
everything just a year before.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Like it's crazy how we follow the same sort of path. And
So did you realize the magnitude of that contract?
yeah, because that was the first point where I'm like, okay, this is it. This is my path, and all I have to do is win.
Right.
And then at the end of the season, I dominated the championship, won everything. Even the world championship, I dominated the world
Formula
BMW
Okay.
World Championship with like the top talent, Philip Eng, Marco Wittmann, Jens Klingmann, like all these guys who, if you search their names, they're all factory drivers now
Yep.
in different manufacturers. And I was like, I can't believe that, we are just absolutely on a path right now.
Yep.
And at the end of the whole season, I got a one-line email from Red Bull saying I'm off the junior team after winning everything.
What was their explanation?
I still don't know.
Really?
I was never told. But I know, I just heard through other drivers and stuff that they, business-wise, they needed to get certain demographic, like a certain driver, certain, let's say, demographic of driver.
Sure. Yeah.
From different regions
Yeah.
for can sales.
Yeah.
And that's a business. And that was the first time where I realized it's not all about winning.
Right.
And that hit me hard. That ruined my career right there. Like, that was the point. When I got dropped, and I'm thankfully back
So it was
on the
only
right path.
one season
It was
that
like,
you had the Red Bull helmet.
it was like 2/3 of a season.
Wow.
And I'm like, man, I'm the most winning driver in the program that year. I won a championship that year. I was one of the only guys to win a championship.
Yeah.
And I got sacked. And it was like the hardest thing for me to comprehend because I thought in my life, as long as I win,
Yeah.
I keep going.
Right.
And that's what you would think. But then that's when money started becoming way more influential than talent.
Right. So what happened the next year?
We scraped whatever we could together. The team subsidized the same team.
Yep.
We ended up running Atlantics, Formula Atlantics,
Okay.
for a few races.
So Formula Atlantics is the step below IndyCar.
Exactly.
Right. So
Yeah.
that's a big jump again.
Oh, huge jump because
Right.
it's like a full aero, like downforce tunnel car,
Yeah.
ground effect car, and
How did it go? Like that must have been a massive leap.
it was difficult because the team wasn't a team like an Atlantic team. It was a team of scraps essentially. We just put something together last second, and the car was falling apart. Mechanical problems left, right, and center. And I had no confidence either. And
Right.
I think people you undervalue how important confidence is.
Oh.
Because I spoke earlier about how when I was a kid, I had this quiet confidence that I just walk around and I knew
Yep.
that I don't know why. Just inside, I knew I was going to win.
Yep.
And everyone else knew I was going to win, but I never told anyone, hey,
Yep.
I'm going to win.
Yep.
My dad told me never say, I'm going to beat you today.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, that's the worst thing you can ever say to somebody.
Yeah.
Like, don't do that. It's not humble. And I never tell people. If someone says, oh, I'm going to kick your butt, I'm like, exactly.
Yeah.
Just
Give them
silent.
the thumbs up. Sure.
Yeah, and walk away
Yeah.
and just do your talking on the track.
Yeah.
So it was tough that Atlantic
Confidence
season.
confidence in racing. Like if you're not confident, you're no chance you're winning.
100%. Like
You
you can
have
have the
to-
best equipment. You
Yeah.
can have identical cars to your teammate. If one guy has confidence and the other person doesn't, it's over.
Yeah.
Like you see it all the time, whether you watch F1, NASCAR, IndyCar,
Yeah.
or any discipline of motorsport,
Yeah.
or life, just life in general. It doesn't matter what you're doing. The person with confidence usually will outperform.
Yeah.
It's hard though to get your head without focusing or relying on a result. It's very hard to put yourself. That's why the elite performers in the world can stay in that zone because you don't need a result to dictate your confidence.
Sure. Yeah. Whereas it's easy. Like if you have it on paper, then you can be confident and like,
Yeah.
look, I have the results.
And that's what ruined me because on paper, I, smashed it. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Dominant performance. And then all of a sudden in my mind, I'm like, okay, this is not, if I can't just win and go forward, then
What do you do?
yeah. And then I started doubting myself. I'm like, well, what do I have to do now? And then my performance went downhill. I made more mistakes.
In that Atlantic season.
Yeah. I made
So how
mistakes.
many races
the car
did you
wasn't
do?
great. I did like half a season. I don't
Okay.
know. It was like maybe five weekends or something.
Yep.
4 weekends, 5
Did you have any good results?
I had one in Three Rivers, like GP3R, where I was running second, and a lap car came out of the pits and like just immediately went to turn one and shot my front wing off with like 6 laps or 6 minutes to go. I was
No.
like, yeah, that was my last race as well.
Yeah.
because I had just got in touch. You want to hear a funny story?
Yeah.
I'll tell you. How much time do we have?
Unlimited, dude.
Okay.
We'll keep going.
So during that season, this is kind of shaping my whole future
Yeah.
as well. It's the weirdest thing. So I'd been dropped by Red Bull, and I had no idea why. I got a one-line email from Helmut Marko saying, "Dear Daniel, you are no longer on the junior team for 2008. Period."
Done.
Regards.
Oh my goodness.
I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
And I replied, no answer, nothing. So many months go by. That's like end of 2007.
Yeah.
So many months go by, probably like April, May. I write an email to Helmet again. And I just like trying to get back in the team because I know it's the end. Like we're running, we have no money.
Yep.
It's over at this point. So I wrote to him and I got an answer saying, I'm like, I would really love to meet and like, see if I can get back in. Obviously my results were really good.
Yeah.
And I get a response saying, okay, meet me in Silverstone in the Red Bull Energy Station. So I'm like, all right.
Fly to England.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I flew to England, no money.
Yep.
I took a bus from Heathrow, 4 buses.
Yeah.
It was my first time taking public transit.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was doing. I got lost. It took me 8 hours to go from Heathrow to the track. And not even to the track, 5 miles from the track. And I started walking with my suitcase. I walked 5 miles to the track.
That's funny.
Thankfully, halfway there, like 2.5 miles into my walk, Derek Daly and Connor, I knew Connor Daly.
Yep.
He saw me on the side of the road. It was out of a movie, man. Like,
yeah. They
drive by, slam on the brakes, stop, reverse, and they're like, Morad. I'm like, hey, pick me up, take me to the track.
That's funny.
And so I didn't have a hotel. I slept in the Euro International, the trailer.
Yep.
I slept in the front, like the cab.
Yep.
And because they were racing in the Formula BMW Europe as well.
Yeah. How'd the meeting go?
Yeah. So this is crazy because I get a pass off of Derek Daly, like an F1 pass, because you can't just walk in. You can't just walk into F1 paddocks. You need like these credentials and stuff. So I got a pass for 30 minutes. I'm like, I need to at this time, whatever. So I stood there waiting for like hours outside the Red Bull Energy Station, and I was waiting for Helmut Marko to walk by, and I finally got him, and he's like, "Oh, Daniel, what are you doing here?" I'm like, "You told me to come meet you." He's like, I didn't tell you to come meet me. It must have been my assistant." And I'm like, oh my God, I literally flew to England for this. Yeah. So at that point, I just want to I just want to dig a hole and just go in it.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's over.
So no meeting?
No, he didn't talk to me.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I don't think I've really told this story.
That's crazy. So what happened? You just hung out for the weekend and went home?
Yeah. So I ended up meeting some people, and at this point you have to remember, I did not like talking to people.
Right.
So I met somebody, it was the daughter of one of the team owners in A1GP.
Okay.
And at that point I had done a few test drives in like the Canadian A1GP car.
Explain to people what A1GP was.
So World Cup of Motorsport, it's like equal machinery.
Yep.
Like Formula One sort of spec cars, I would say. The closest thing to F1 without being F1.
Yep.
So it was nation versus nation.
Yeah.
So there was Canada. Hinchcliffe drove for Canada. Wickens drove for Canada. At the time, I had been the Friday like rookie driver.
Yep.
For Hinch and for Wickens. So I had four outings there, and I did really well. I was in the top 3 every outing for the most part. I believe so. Every single one.
Okay.
So I showed well.
Yep.
And
So you met
this one girl. The team owner's daughter for Team Lebanon.
Okay.
And at this time, Canada buckled as a team. Like, so there was no opportunity there. So everything in my career that could have gone wrong, like literally shut. Every door is like close. And I always thought, one door closes and 4 more open or something. No, every single door was slammed in my face. So I know what a door slamming in your face feels like.
Yeah.
But I was persistent and I never gave up. And I just kept pushing. And finally, and you have to remember, there's a quiet kid that I really wanted this.
Yeah.
Like badly. That's all I had in my
Yeah.
life. Like all I had. I never talked to girls. That was not my focus when I was a kid.
Yep.
Okay. It was just like literally racing. What can I do to go racing?
Yep.
So anyway, I had a conversation with her dad, and they're like, "Well, are you Lebanese? Like, what's the deal?" I'm like,
Right.
"Well, through my lineage, I have enough of it to."
How far back did you have to go?
Far.
Really?
So we made it happen.
Nice.
Yeah, it all
So you
happened.
raced A1 for Team Lebanon.
Yeah, and that was crazy because they had never scored a point in their entire history, 3 years, and the amount of millions. Like I'm telling you, there's eight digits there that has been spent at that point in 3 seasons,
And they had nothing to show for it.
Yeah, maybe more, maybe 9 digits.
Jesus.
Yeah, like a lot of money.
Okay.
A lot of money has been spent and 0 points.
Okay.
0 top 8 finishes.
Right.
Or top 10. I think it was 8 or 10. My first race, I scored points.
Okay.
So at that point, I'd become a god for them. I'm like,
Right.
the greatest thing ever.
You didn't have to move to Lebanon, did you?
No, I've been there though. I went a few times.
Yep.
It's beautiful place.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
When there's no conflict or anything.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
So that was a crazy experience, and I'm 18 at this point.
Okay.
I was way too young for this series,
Okay.
but it's the only thing I could do.
Yep.
And I was like, how did I even end up here?
Yeah.
I'm thinking I have no money, and I'm actually making money in this deal.
Wow. They're
Yeah.
paying you.
Yeah, like through prize money and stuff.
Okay.
I would get. I didn't get a salary, but
Yep.
I had like certain things in the contract, like I could fly business class to Malaysia,
That works.
which is a luxury, right?
Yeah. So did
Like,
you run the
those
whole
are things that they incentivized the contract for results.
Right.
I was like, whatever. I don't care. Just as long as I get to the racetrack, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm not like I must fly business or
No.
things
I
like
get that, yeah.
It's like I just want to race, man.
So did you run the whole season?
Yeah, so I ran the whole season, but
Okay.
it was the last season of A1GP, so it was a complete like corrupt series. And this is where I started understanding that money, not only did money get you rides, but money got you results.
Yeah.
And it was super like the most political thing I've ever been in because people were paying for performance.
Right.
ECU tunes and good equipment. Like I didn't finish any races. My car broke every time.
Really?
So the problem was I had the test car and they were strapped for cash. Like the series was going downhill.
Okay.
They owed money to everybody. They didn't have enough chassis. You couldn't crash things.
Because they provided the chassis to each team.
Yeah. So it was a spec chassis, spec engine. All the parts were from the series. So they couldn't produce enough parts. They didn't have any front wings first race.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, people were doing carbon work. Like our wing would break. They're like, carbon work, fix the wing. Yeah, cars weren't starting because they didn't have parts. So it was a terrible season.
Okay.
I had good results, I would say, for being 18 years old, having no confidence,
Yep.
and driving a car that was like 650 horsepower.
Insane.
And my neck grew 6 centimeters in 3 months.
That's crazy.
No power steering and like huge Michelin tires, like downforce, like you would
What
never.
was that
believe.
like getting in that for the first time? Were you like, shit, I'm over my head?
Well, I'd never really driven paddle shifting cars
Right.
either. So I'd always driven sequential, like Formula BMW and Atlantic were both sequential gearboxes. And I'm like, okay, so auto blip, flat shifting, paddle. This is like a video game.
Yeah.
But it's like the fastest video game. My eyeballs were like being shot in the back of my head.
Right.
And the vibration, like the first laps I had, I was like, oh my God, like, what is this thing? It's trying to kill me.
Yeah.
I thought my organs were going to vibrate out of my freaking eardrum, like out of my ears.
That's crazy.
And it was so fast, like mind-boggling.
Huh.
But I got used to it eventually.
'Kay.
It took me a little bit to get used to that speed and like the deceleration. We had carbon brakes.
Right.
So when you hit the brake, I would never hit them hard enough.
Right.
And I'm like, that was the craziest thing for me. Just how, like, getting used to that sensation of holding your body in place.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I got like I said, first race, scored points.
Yep.
Again in the rain.
Ah.
I like the rain.
Yep.
Rain's fun. But yeah, it was a crazy season, very political, and that was a good opportunity because the people that were invested in that team,
Yep.
when the series buckled and went bankrupt, they're like, okay, well, let's try to go to F1. And that was my second chance. Like, okay, maybe we go to F1 with this program, Middle Eastern money.
Yep.
And they had the team in place, everything. They're like, okay, we're going to do GP3, which is now FIA Formula 3.
Okay.
First season ever.
So they're going to start a team.
Well,
You're going to be the driver.
They didn't start the team. They just funded me in a team. And again,
Good.
funny enough, Wickens and I, we pair up. We're teammates.
No way.
Yeah, we're teammates that season.
And he was coming from a different route to that team?
So he had just been dropped by Red Bull going into that season as well.
Right.
And so we're both, Red Bull-less.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're both trying to find a path, like find a way. And
Yep.
I had won a race that season. I actually won the first race for the team
Mm-hmm.
in Silverstone. And And then like it just got difficult after that point. Like the whole dynamic in the team shifted, and I don't really know what happened, but I mean.
So hang on, it's GP3, right?
Yeah.
To clarify.
Yeah,
and
GP3.
that is now Formula 2?
It's Formula 3. FIA Formula 3.
Formula 3.
Yeah.
And then there's
they follow F1. So it's like on the F1 weekends, you
Yeah.
race at 8 F1 Grand Prix.
And is that the final step before F1?
It could be for some guys,
Okay.
like Bottas
Yeah.
went from GP3
Yeah.
right to F1.
Okay.
Some guys can jump right from that to F1,
Yeah.
but others do GP2 or F2 now.
F2.
It's called.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Because there was another F2 series in the past
Right.
that was
Yes.
like kind of like spec cars and spec
Okay.
like all managed by the series, but now it's FIA Formula 3, which was GP3 at the time, and FIA Formula 2.
I see. Okay,
which
I
is
get
now
it now.
the step. It's like the equivalent of Indy Lights or
To-
Xfinity.
To Cup or
Yeah.
IndyCar.
Exactly.
Okay, so you win did you say the first race at Silverstone?
It wasn't the first
okay,
race.
but
It
you
was,
won Silverstone.
Yeah, it was a tough season because the way I didn't know any of these tracks.
Yep.
It's my first time at
In Europe.
Barcelona, first time in Istanbul, first time everywhere. Silverstone. I've never driven these circuits.
Right.
And it's difficult because you have 30 minutes of practice, one set of tires. So you have like 4 or 5 laps to learn and figure it out.
Wait.
Yeah.
One set of tires for what? The whole weekend?
For the 30-minute practice.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you put on a second set for the race.
quali.
And you race on those?
And then you race on those quali tires, and then you have a new set of tires for the
Pit stop.
second race because there's 2 races on the weekend. So your quali was dictating your race 1 start position.
Yep.
And your race 1 finishing position was your race 2 start position.
Okay.
And then they invert the top 8. So
Right.
if you finish first in race 1, you start 8th for race 2. If you finish 8th for race 1, you start first for race 2.
Okay.
So
these
you had to finish races in order to start in the front.
100%.
If you
yeah.
crashed out race 1, your weekend's shot.
Yeah.
You're starting P30.
Yeah.
So
this group of, what is it, Lebanese businessmen or just like
yeah, like a Lebanese family.
Okay, they're funding this whole season.
Whole thing.
Good to go.
700,000 euros.
You're
or
not
something.
concerned about money. They're
No,
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Unlimited budget, sort of.
So how did that season go? You won Silverstone.
So I'd won a race. That was my only success that year, really.
Okay.
I qualified well, considering I'd never seen these circuits. I think aside from one weekend, I qualified in the top 7 every single weekend. In the top 30, like there's 30 guys in the series.
Yep.
27 of the 30 had won a championship previously.
Yeah, no doubt.
It was the most competitive season ever, like the most depth all the way through.
Right.
Like if you go back and look at the names, it's just name. It is insane.
Right.
So the fact that I was nowhere in practice because I'm like, okay, I'm learning, and these guys, they knew the tracks, so they go out of the box and straight away, boom, new tire, they
Right.
put the time down. And me, I'm just like putting around learning. I'm like, okay, is this 3rd or 4th gear? Like, I'm thinking. And in quali, I had, basically you have 1 to 2 laps to put it together.
Okay.
That's it. So you have to,
Yeah.
get it in one shot. And I did it every time. I was like,
Got her
they're
done.
like, yeah, P4, P3,
Yeah.
whatever. I'm like, damn, this is amazing.
So how did the season go? Where'd you end up in the points?
So every race there was just something, like either a technical issue or a crash. Like it was so cutthroat and ruthless. Like it was insane. Think about if you ever play virtual racing, it's like that. It's like open lobby virtual racing. No one cares.
Yeah.
I got wrecked more times before I even made it to the start line. Like all on the grid, before I can even get to the start-finish line, I'd be backwards in the wall. I'm like, how is that even possible?
What the heck?
People, it's like 8 wide, like, they go everywhere. They just cut across the road. And I got hit in the rear tire. I don't know how many times. Yeah, but just one thing or the other happened that season.
So not a good season.
Terrible season. I ended up finishing like 11th or 12th in the points.
Okay.
But I'd won a race, which was really, really good.
Yeah.
And at that point, that was the make or break year. And it was supposed to be a make year. Like we were going to F1 no matter what.
Right.
With Lebanese money.
Yep.
And I think there was a meeting with Bernie Ecclestone and the team, and they didn't agree on things.
Okay.
And the team didn't come to fruition. So at that point, the guys funding the whole thing were like, well, we're not going to play with toy cars.
Okay.
They called those GP3 cars, F3 cars, toy cars.
Okay.
They're like, we're only interested in the big show.
Formula One.
Yeah.
Wow.
So at that point, they're like, done. We can't get a spot. We're done.
Wow.
And that was the same period where the new teams were coming into F1.
Yeah.
So it was like a really good opportunity. Man, it was like heartbreak because that was the end, and I knew I'm like, it's finished with them. So how can I make the next season happen?
Yep.
So Andy DiFrancesco, who's Devlin DiFrancesco's dad, and
he's
Latifi,
races IndyCar.
Yeah, both of them came together and helped me out to keep going.
To race GP3 for the next year.
Yeah, but then it was only a little, like just a little bit to get going.
Yep.
And it's kind of like everything else in the career leading up. It's like, let's just get going and see what we can do.
Yep.
And it just, they're...
Didn't have the results right out of the box.
Well, it was a tough one because the team was a backmarker team at the time. And my teammates were P last and P second last.
Yeah.
and I was actually in the top 8, like competitive.
Yeah.
But you had to be dominant.
You have to be in those levels.
And you have to be in the best team. It's
100%.
If you're not in the best team, then you have best at least 2 teams, you don't have a shot.
And I think that's something.
And then you can beat your teammates.
Yeah, and I think that's something people outside of motorsports don't understand or don't appreciate.
Yeah.
You know, that how important the equipment is. You can be the fastest guy on the track by a second.
Yeah.
But if you're in a shit box,
you can't. You. It's like an F1. If you're driving a Williams, unfortunately, you're not going to win a race.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yep.
Unless like some sort of miracle happens where there's a tornado and it wipes all the cars out.
Yeah.
But it just isn't happening on normal circumstances.
Yep.
So the problem is you have to week in, week out dominate.
Yep.
In order to even have a shot. And we have learned that even that doesn't matter.
So you do that. Those first couple races in GP3, not going well, out of money, however it goes, and
you're 2 races.
Okay.
2 weekends.
And you're done.
Yeah, so at that point, I had made enough contacts in the paddock to, I knew people, but unfortunately, everything was based off of money. And, and Porsche at that time approached me before they had their whole junior program established. So this was 2011.
Okay,
I knew the guy in charge of the Porsche junior team because he was one of the guys at the Formula BMW junior program.
Okay.
He was managing that. So Formula BMW stopped in 2009, I think.
Yep.
So 2011, this guy's working for Porsche now, and he comes to me and he's like, "How's it going?" I'm like, "Well, honestly, I think this is my last weekend."
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Well, why don't you do Porsche Super Cup?"
Okay.
I'm like, "That sounds great."
Yep.
So what do I have to do?
Yep.
He's like, "Well, we would make you a junior straight away." Because, obviously they rated me as a driver. They're like, you don't even have to do any shootout, nothing. We'll just consider you a junior. We give you 100,000 euros.
Okay.
And I'm like, so how much is the season? 300,000 euros.
Damn.
I'm like,
another
okay,
200
so
grander.
So if I could have taken whatever I had the budget that year, a portion of it, I could have at least gotten it going.
Right. Yeah.
So I was like, damn. I'm like, I don't have the money.
Yep.
It's funny because the same guys I'd raced in that series are Porsche factory drivers right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but they had the money. They had the chance.
Right.
They could have done it. Right. They did do it.
Yeah. So does that put in a halt to your career in your mind?
I stopped.
Okay.
I literally, I had one call like the week after my last race. That was like in June, I think. June or July in 2011. I got a call from an Indy Lights team because one of the drivers couldn't make it over the border. He was a South American driver. So like the ride's fully paid. You want to come race in Edmonton? I'm like, all right.
Yep.
It was an okay team. It was a mid-pack team, but my first time ever driving the car was quali because practice got rained out.
Oh my goodness.
But I was P1 the whole session. I mean, well, so the European stuff.
You qualify on pole?
Yeah, nearly.
Yeah.
Until like, so I had qualified on used tires.
Yeah.
And I was like P1 the whole time. And they're like, damn, like this guy, he's P1 right now. When we put new tires, he's going to be flying. But it was so cold that there wasn't enough time left in the session to even switch the tire on. So everyone got faster and faster because it was so cold.
Yeah.
And I ended up going from first to like 7th, and I got wiped at first corner. Someone from 14th. I had a good start. I remember that race. I started 7th. I got up to like 3rd or 4th in the first like 4 corners. And then it was a hairpin.
Yep.
And the guy from 14th missed his brake point and like went through the grass, and I was the car he hit.
Just banned it.
Yeah. Out of everyone in the whole field, it's like I'm like mid corner at the apex. Boom. Like literally not even, it wasn't even close. It was right into the side pod. Right by the end. Like it was destroyed.
Even, yeah.
I'm like, well, when it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be.
Right.
And that was it. Like,
Okay.
finished.
So the
4
next
years
thing I
out.
remember from you is racing the worlds in karting and winning.
Yeah, that was like kind of in the middle of my GP3. That was the end of my first GP3 season.
Okay.
So I had always wanted to go race karts in Europe.
Yeah.
And, have that opportunity. So I did the Florida Winter Tour again, and I won every race.
Okay.
In the Rotax GD2.
Yep.
So I got my ticket to qualify for
The worlds.
the Worlds.
Yeah. And where was that?
Italy.
Okay.
I won every race except for one. I had a flat tire or something.
Okay.
But anyway, won the championship, got a ticket, free trip, everything paid.
Yep.
And so we went to La Conca in Italy. I was like, cool. First time at this track.
And a shot to be world champion at anything is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And right away, I was like, I just had a good feeling. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
I had a good mechanic, Steven Chapman. He was, for me, like, this guy's the best.
Yep.
Ex-driver, like, never made it as a driver, but the best mechanic / engineer, tuner, whatever you want to call him, ever.
Okay.
This guy would make changes before you knew you needed changes.
Okay.
Because he was a driver as well. He could see. I never had to give him feedback. He just asked me, like, simple questions, and I'd give him, like, a small answer. He's like, I know what to do. Don't worry about it.
That's great.
I go out next session. It's perfect. He's like, and he would coach me through. He's like, okay, right now, because we had tire allocations, he's like, drive this way, really protect the rear tire. It's a long, training session, like through the practices and whatever. When the track rubber's in, that's when you're going to need the tire so we can know the setup. I'm like, okay. So we were nowhere in practice. Like, we were okay, middle of the road.
Yep.
And by the end, he's like, okay, now you push.
Okay.
And we pushed, and we were right at the front. Quali, pole.
Nice.
First heat, dominated.
Okay.
3-second win. And then it got, like, really, really grindy.
Okay.
Think of, like,
rough.
Yeah, like, think about fourth line.
Chippy.
Yeah, chippy
Yeah,
is
yeah.
the word. Like,
Yeah.
fourth line in Game 7 of the
Junior
playoffs.
C.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah.
I got smashed so hard, like, my head hit the axle.
Okay.
The
are
last
in the
time I felt
second,
that
third.
was 80cc shifter.
Yeah.
But, like, this time, I'm like, oh, my God. And so the guy absolutely rinsed me.
Yep.
And I had a huge accident there. Like, I got high-sided on the exit curb, and I couldn't turn. And then the guy in third, and I was leading this race.
Yep.
It was, like, 2-3 laps into the second heat.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up riding off the chassis. And... yeah, DNF.
Oh, my goodness.
And it's tough when you have like 100 guys in the world. You have to finish all the heats to make the final. So I'm like, okay, I qualified pole, won the first race.
Yeah. DNF.
So that's huge.
Yeah.
Third heat.
So they give you a new go-kart though.
No, we couldn't change. If I changed, I would have had to start in the back.
Oh my goodness.
So we straightened it out best we could.
With a 2x4.
Yeah, changed everything we could.
Yeah.
And this is funny. This is leading up to what happened at the end.
Yeah.
Because it's a viral video.
I know.
It was awesome. And nobody knows. Like, they're like, oh, what an idiot.
I know.
Yeah,
but anyways, don't jump ahead. I need to hear the whole
so,
weekend.
So the third heat, I
Yeah.
start from pole again, obviously, because I qualified pole overall in qualifying.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, so
Yep, I
I
get
qualified
it.
on pole from time trials. So
Yep.
I started P1 every single heat, 3 heat races.
Beauty.
So I at least started on pole. And so, it got rough.
Yep.
And I had to assert myself, I wasn't going to be a pushover.
Yep.
So we got into it a little bit with that same guy because he was in my heat every time. He qualified P5 overall, which means he started in my row.
2 behind you.
Right behind me. So
Oh.
I was P1, he was right behind me. Because
Okay.
it was P1 was in Group A, P2, Group B.
Oh, I
third,
see. Yeah,
Group
yeah.
C,
Okay.
fourth,
Yep.
and so on. You
Yep.
repeat the
I
cycle.
get it.
So this guy was starting P3 every single race behind me. So I'm like, okay. So he was like giving it a little bit. So I go aside and like defend a little bit and let him go outside, and I ran him over. I'm like, just get out.
Yep.
I completely destroyed him.
Yep.
And that's the only time, like, if you play rough, you have to give it.
Yeah, well, it's like hockey or freaking a fight in
like
school. You have to
Pinty-
throw. You have to throw the first punch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just show the guy that, it's over.
Yep.
Stop.
Yep.
So I ended up dropping right back and pushed through and finished second in the heat in the end.
So where'd you start the final
I started, the pre-final, I started P20.
or pre-final? Okay. Oh shit.
Somehow P20. Like, I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
It's somewhat okay. Can still work forward. First corner of the pre-final, destroyed. Like, boom, first corner out. Like not out,
But
I was 36th, dead last.
Where'd you finish the pre-final?
So I made it from in a 14-lap race from 36 up to 9th. Last corner, 2 corners to go, again, destroyed. Like, guy punted me from behind. I ended up 13th.
Okay.
So start the final 13th. Not the end of the world, but
A long road to
a
hoe.
long way for the World
Yeah.
Championship. Best drivers in the world to make it from 13th. So had a good start. Went from 13th to 9th on lap 1, and then one at a time. And I remember Remo Tagliani.
Yep.
He goes to me in his broken Italian English, French English, whatever mix. He just told me, he's like, just one at a time. One at a time.
Yeah. That's good.
And he would make these like sound effects, which were epic.
So,
but yeah, just picked off one at a time. And it was a 24-lap final.
yep.
And tire conservation was huge because we had limited tire sets.
Yep.
So we had to use like one set all the way through the whole, like from qualifying through the heats, through the pre-final. I think you can change 2 or maybe 4. I'm not sure, but
Okay.
it was 14 laps plus 24 laps. It's a long way on a set of
Yeah.
tires, soft tires. So I just worked on it, chipped away one at a time.
Yep.
And then it was a battle for the lead, like 5, 6 guys.
Yep.
And I remember in one lap, I passed like 3. I was like, 1, then next corner, and next corner. And it just was the perfect timing because that created chaos.
Yep.
And I got into P2. And as soon as I got to P2, everyone behind me kind of like collided because
Yep.
they were desperate. And that's one thing I've always been smart with is knowing that when the right time to go is.
Mm-hmm.
I was patient. I waited half the race. I was in the pack. I didn't, act out of desperation. Then just went.
Yep.
And then that was the gap I needed. But in that whole melee, the leader kind of got away a little bit.
Okay.
Because, getting through a few carts, when you're at that level,
Yeah.
hundreds count.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So think like getting through 3 carts, I lost a second maybe on that lap.
Yeah.
Or just a second and a half. So leader's gone, 8 laps to go, and I had the pace
Yep.
with a bent go-kart.
Yep. So you caught him,
Yeah.
passed him,
Yeah, 4/10 a lap.
and won the race by a little bit of a margin.
No. Last lap, most epic thing ever. Like the highest pressure you can ever think to have
Yeah.
in life.
Okay.
Everything rides on this one moment.
Yeah.
Okay? And I'm like P2, I just caught him
Okay.
coming to the white flag or the last lap board
Yeah.
as they use. And I looked into T1, which is a very fast sweeper,
Yeah.
but it wasn't quite there because the gear would run out.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, I have one more chance, but it has to be in a place where he would never expect it because he's going to defend. He
Yeah.
defended all the hairpins, and I'm like, I never wanted to be in that situation, but in my head, I already knew if I'm in, I know where I'm strong.
Okay.
There was one corner where it was like a combination sequence where you go to through a fast sweeping left into a hairpin right.
Yeah.
And normally you would sacrifice the exit of that fast left sweeper
I see.
a little bit to get the run through the hairpin. I did not. It was a lift, right? You had to lift through that sweeper flat out. I
Yeah.
timed it to even thinking back, it was millimeters where I just had to bleed off his bumper
Yeah.
at that right moment not to hit him
Yep.
and like lose the run.
Yep.
I just opened and scrubbed wide and like just
Dove.
stuffed it.
Yep.
Stuffed it.
Nice.
Yeah. Stuffed
Nice.
it like a turkey on Thanksgiving.
So tell people. I got to keep going because you got so much more in your
Yeah.
career. But tell people the viral moment.
Yeah, so, that was like 3 corners to the end.
Yep.
And it was tough to defend the rest of that lap because there's still one more hairpin with a big opportunity to cross and exit.
Yep.
The last corner. So I defended it well, and I actually lifted on the throttle. I defended the inside. I lifted the throttle down the straight to force him on the outside.
Yep.
And then I just ran him wide, and I waited.
Smart.
Waited to turn when I wanted to turn, so he
Yep.
couldn't cross me.
Yep.
I knew as long as my cart's there, he can't go through it.
Yep.
So I just block past, and boom, gone. Win the race. Freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, I just won the world championship.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fist pump. I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. And as soon as I lift off the throttle, I'm like falling out of the seat. I'm like, what just happened? And then I'm backwards.
Yeah.
Spinning. I'm like, holy geez. Hit the fence. You can see if you watch this video, my hands are in the air. I'm just like, what
Everyone
is
who's listening
going on?
has to search this video and
Yeah.
they'll find it right away.
Just search
'Cause the
Daniel
cart
Morad
just-
on YouTube.
The
That's
cart
it.
just cuts left.
Yeah, and there's a still photo of it where both front tires are pointed outward.
Okay.
Like max out,
Yeah.
max outward. And that doesn't happen.
No.
So the tie rod broke. So remember that second heat where I
Yeah.
had the incident? These were all spec chassis,
Yep.
spec carts. I couldn't change a lot of parts. We had to straighten the chassis. We changed the tie rod because that was bent. The
Yep.
steering column was bent. But the tie rod end, because you can't just say, oh, give me the whole thing. Every part was accounted for.
Right.
So the tie rod end, like the thread, was cracked.
So it snapped.
As soon as I lifted off the throttle, just that subtle weight transfer to the front snapped the tie rod. So the one wheel pointed outward, and it was like the brake went on. Everyone
hilarious.
thought I broke.
I know, it's hilarious.
I did break in the end because I fell out of the seat. The only thing holding me in was my 2 feet on the pedals.
And you launch across, you take out the guy who finishes second, you hit the fence, and yeah, if you don't know what you're looking at, it looks like you're just like celebrated too hard.
Yeah. I don't know where it broke because you can see the cart moving down the straight.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I almost think that the fact that the weight transfer was on the rear because I was accelerating, it was like unloading the front tire, so it must have been fluttering already.
Yep.
I don't know.
That's
I don't remember.
funny.
I was
It's
like,
a good moment though.
I didn't care.
Yeah, no,
It was the most memorable world championship win.
for sure.
And it was just really, really cool.
That's
I was
good.
in disbelief. Like I actually went on the ground and just laid down. I'm like, oh my God, like what is happening right now?
Yeah.
The adrenaline started wearing off. And you have to remember, I hit the fence at like, I don't know, 120 kilometers
It's a hard
an hour.
crash.
Oh yeah, I bent the fence pole. My helmet actually has I cracked the helmet. Yeah, I
Dude.
cranked it.
Okay, but to jump back now, because I didn't realize that. I thought
That was 2010.
Okay, that's 2010. So now you do that last Edmonton race, Formula Atlantic, and you're out of a ride.
Yeah, that was Indy Lights at the
Or
time.
sorry, Indy Lights. Yeah. Are you on the simulator at this time yet?
No.
Okay.
Nothing.
No
Well,
s-
define simulator.
Yeah, sure.
Gran
Yeah.
Turismo
Okay,
with
yeah.
a wooden chassis.
Yeah.
It wasn't proper. It wasn't.
Right.
It wasn't there yet.
So now
That was well later.
you go back to your parents' house in Markham.
Yeah.
And-
well, at the time they moved to Stouffville.
Okay.
And I'm like, what?
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do I do at this point? So thankfully, I picked up the phone and called a company. Well, actually, I called Russ Bond.
Okay.
I think a lot of people in the motorsport or like the Ontario scene will know Russ. He was on motoring TV and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he had been around the karting scene the whole my whole upbringing.
He's a supporter of motorsports.
Yeah,
for sure.
And he told me, he's like, well, if you need to, work, I know a guy. So he connected me with someone that did like some driving programs. And so at 21, I was youngest by far. Everyone was in their 40s, 50s doing these like driving experiences. Yeah, for manufacturers. So I was
Okay.
like, great. So I started working with Audi, Audi Canada in their driving experiences. And that went on for 4 years. And remember, at this point, I still was not very good in like a social environment.
Sure. Yeah.
So I'm getting thrown into something where I need to start talking to random people.
Yeah.
And I had a really good mentor, a guy named Jeff Boyce,
Okay.
who he was so outgoing, and I looked up to him. I was like, I want to be like that.
Okay. Yeah.
His kind of demeanor, his personality, the way he engaged with people. He was super funny, entertaining, and engaging.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, this is the guy I'm going to hang around.
Yep.
And at 21, I was very, and being so shy, I'm just listening. But the funniest thing, so I did that for 4 years. And by the end of my time doing that, there's mixed emotions. Number one, money's great.
Okay.
Was I truly happy doing it? No,
Yep.
because I felt like I was wasting my life.
Mm-hmm.
I learned the skill I needed to learn. That was talking to people.
Mm.
But and I was great at teaching.
Mhm.
But I'm like, I'm better. Like I know I can do better than this.
Right.
And I didn't give up on what I knew I should be doing.
Right.
I've been groomed as a killer on the track.
Yeah.
And I'm here kicking cones in a parking lot.
Yep.
Not to disrespect anyone that does that, because I think it's a great. I still do it
Yeah.
from time to time. It's fun.
I do it once or twice a year because
Yeah.
it's fun. Yeah.
I don't do it for the money anymore.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I did that because I genuinely needed to think about my future.
Sure.
And at the time, I'm with my fiance now,
Yep.
Jess. We're getting married very soon. Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking, man, I need to start thinking about our future together. Like, how
Yeah.
are we going to live? Like, we need a place. We need this. And we were so far off my head. I'm like, I am so in a hole right now. I don't know how I'm going to get out. But anyway, picked up the phone, and that's how my career got back going, which was amazing because out of nowhere, I had tried. I went to Daytona for like all throughout that period.
Yep.
The 4 years where I was doing the driving experiences. Like, okay, maybe someone will give me a ride.
So you'd go to races and
I'd
try and chat with people.
But it's such a waste of time. I mean, it's so like the chance that you're gonna get a shot by just showing up.
Yeah.
I know you hear all these stories, but I was going.
Would you show up with your suit and everything?
Yeah, I had everything with me.
Okay.
I'm like ready to go.
Okay. In case someone can't make it or
license
something.
and everything ready.
I see.
Yeah, so like I did
That's
the
cool.
license. Yeah, but it never happened.
Yep.
Everyone, the same answer was every single person said, single seater guy, like we need more experience.
In a sports car.
Yeah.
Yep.
In a sports car for Rolex 24 and stuff like that.
Yep.
So just never happened.
So are you trying to find sponsorship at this time, or are you fully?
Trying everything I can.
Okay.
But what's the investment?
Right.
Is it really a good investment? Like
right.
investing in a driver, how much money is that person going to make for you? Like it's not a good investment realistically. As sad as it is, like you have to find connections that actually make sense.
Yes. You have to really show value. You can't just. It's very difficult, I should say.
Otherwise, it's charity.
Right.
At that point.
To say, hey, sponsor me. I'm a race car driver. I don't even have a team yet. I don't even have a real plan yet. I'm going to be a race car driver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
How? Like, think about it.
Yeah.
If you take yourself out of your own situation and you actually logically think, does that make sense? If I was someone else, would I say, yeah, that's actually a good opportunity?
Yeah.
Or the only thought I have is I just feel sorry for that person.
And you don't want that.
I don't want people to feel sorry for me. Just give me charity money.
Yeah.
It's like I want to genuinely make a connection that makes sense.
Okay. So you showing up to the track didn't work.
It did not work at all. 0% chance. It may work, and I know some people it has worked for them.
Sure. Yeah.
But maybe they're a bit more established. As a young driver, I just don't see how. In what world? Maybe it's like winning the lottery.
Right.
But I don't like putting my life up to chance.
So you're making cold calls at the time.
Yeah, thankfully I only had to make 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
So pretty good.
Well, yes. No, I mean, I didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
So I couldn't even make these calls.
Right.
So the first call, it was funny. I called FAF.
Okay.
Because I'm like, maybe Porsche GT3 Cup. At that point, I said, okay, let's go to the grassroots again, like to the very entry-level series, Porsche GT3 Cup in Canada. And it just started building in popularity, and like a lot of talent was going through. Spencer Pigot was driving. And, I was like, okay, cool. This is a good opportunity. So I called FAF, and they just shut me down. They're like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right.
Okay.
I tried so many times, like after with FAF, and they just always said no.
Okay.
And I'm actually so thankful now because just seeing everyone that goes through that program and how it ends up, it's not great. But I mean, everything happens for a reason. And I think that my path led me I was led in a different direction.
So who's the second cold call?
So the team that Allegra Motorsports, who I've been driving for I would say mostly only 1 year off since 2015.
And how did that phone call go?
Yeah, so I was like, I went through the entry list. I'm like, okay, what are the teams?
Yep.
Then I started Googling, like, okay, where is this team? They're in Tampa. So it's like the only team in the whole series that's Florida-based. And I'm just thinking, like, well, how can they put Spencer Pigot in their car?
Okay.
Like, why would he do Indy Lights and then do this Porsche series as well? So I started thinking, I'm like, well, obviously they like young drivers, young talented drivers. So maybe there's an opportunity there. So I picked up the phone and I called the shop number, and the team manager at the time, Andy Green, picked up the phone, like a Scottish guy. I could barely understand him. And I'm like, hey, I'm Daniel Morad. I'm really interested to race with your team in the Porsche GT3 Cup. Blah blah blah.
Yep.
And he's like, all right, well, what do you do? Like, what have you been driving? And I'm like, oh, I did Formula BMW. I was a champion in the series, and I raced in Europe a little bit. He's like, oh, okay, so sounds good. Send me over your CV. So hang up the phone. I send an email.
Yep.
And they called me 5 minutes later. They call me back. And at this point, they have the engineer on the phone and the crew chief and team manager again.
Yeah.
And they're like, so tell us more about your career. Like, what's going on? Like, you won Formula BMW. That's really impressive, and all that. And I didn't realize how much they valued that because the engineer was working in Formula BMW with another team, and he knew of me. And he's like, the fact that you won that's a competitive series.
Sure.
If you can win that, you can win anything.
Okay.
So they gave me a shot. They're like, well, before I even knew it was a shot, I was like, okay, shit, like there's something there.
Mm-hmm.
I need to find some sponsors or something. I don't know what I need to do right now, but I need to do this.
Yep.
And they're like, well, when can you come over to meet us? I'm like, what, you guys are in Tampa? I'm like, on Air Canada. I'm like, how's tomorrow morning? Yeah, so I took a flight the next morning for the day. I went there in the morning. I flew back at night.
Yep.
And I met with them. And on the car ride to the airport, like the crew chief drove me. He goes, the guys really like you. So you're going to get a test, I think. We're going to test at Mosport in 2 weeks. Perfect. And this is like a week before the first race of the season.
And this is Canada, the Canadian Porsche GT3 Championship, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
So so the crew chief drove me to the airport, and he's like, yeah, you have a chance. He's like, you the team owner needs you to find some sponsors and stuff. I'm like, well, how much money do you think I need to like bring for the season? He's like, probably like 175,000. I'm like, okay. I'm like, at least it's a Porsche. I mean, I don't know. I'm going to try to call some Porsche dealerships.
Sure.
I'm like, FAF's in it.
Yeah.
So it was good timing because there was a new store called Porsche Center Oakville.
Okay.
And they just opened, and I knew, so Andrew Bourdin from AIM Autosport went to school with the owner of the dealership's son.
Okay.
So that was a connection there. So we got introduced, and I was like on it right away. I'm like, so what do you think about sponsoring a Porsche in the GT3 Cup? And I didn't understand the economics of how the marketing works and stuff, but they get budget and all that kind of good stuff. So already I was on it, thinking, where's the value? There is value here on that.
Yeah.
Little did I know, this team, once they tested me, so they gave me a shot, 10 laps in the car, and unofficially I broke the lap record at Mosport. First time ever driving a GT car. I'm like, is that good? Like, I don't know what the lap times are.
Yeah.
I just drove. And they're like, all of them, their faces, when I came back to the pit box, they're just like, okay.
Good.
I'm like, so was that like good? Was it competitive? They're like, that's the fastest lap we've ever seen here. I'm like, and at that point, I actually get goosebumps because I knew at that moment, I'm like, okay, there's something here now.
Yeah.
And so that was a Friday of like a regional weekend.
Yep.
The next weekend was the first race. So I'm like, things need to happen fast if we're going to, do
no
this.
Kidding.
So I got to call Sunday. They're like, can you come back to the track? We want to talk to you. So I'm thinking like, okay, how is this going to work? Before I even got anything going, like no sponsor, nothing, no money.
Yeah.
They're like, the team owner gave me his car. He's like, you're going to race my car this year. So Carlos de Quesada.
Yeah.
He got a brand new car. And he wanted to race it, but he's like, you impressed me so much. He's like, I want to see what you can do.
Wow.
So he gave me his car and paid for the whole thing.
And was he racing in the series as well?
He ended up racing. He rented a car, I think, near the end of the season, and like ended up driving a little bit.
But he just really wanted to see you do well.
Yeah, he wanted to see me do well, and he liked my personality, and most importantly, I was a good mentor for his son, who was 15 at the time.
Right.
I was 25. He was 15.
Yep.
And just to steer him in the right direction and really
and coach him.
Yeah, coach him exactly.
Yeah. And was he running in the series yet or?
Yeah, so he ran in the the Gold Cup it was called, which is the older generation car.
Yep. Okay.
So at 15 years old.
Okay. So I'm sure you dominated that season?
No, the first year was actually tough because it was Scott Hargrove and Chris Green.
Right, two fast guys.
Yeah, and they've run the series I don't know how many years.
Yeah.
So I show up, and first race I finished third both races.
Okay.
And the second weekend, that was at Mosport, then the second weekend was Toronto Indy.
Yep.
And I don't know where I ended up first race, there was an issue with that cost me the championship. I lost by 2 points in the end.
Okay.
And it literally, I did my only DNF of the year. I finished on the podium 9 out of 10 races.
Yep.
But that one, they forgot to bleed the tire pressure from tech.
Oh,
so I started with 35 PSI, and normally you run like 17 cold. So I had 35 cold.
It was the devil out there.
Man, on lap 1, I'm like, holy shit, I'm going to win this race. Like, the thing's on rails today. And lap 2, I can't even go flat through Lakeshore. I'm like,
my goodness.
Oh, no, I'm gonna die. And then I got crashed at, like, someone behind me they saw I was struggling, so they like lunged in the hairpin at the end of Lakeshore and like hit me in the front tire, broke the toe link, game over.
Yep.
Next day, I won in the rain by a lot.
Okay.
Yeah. First, I was like, I cannot see where I'm going. Street course, walls, fence, like the mist does not go anywhere. It stays on the track. So I'm like, I don't even know how to drive this thing in the wet. Like, the great thing is I'm not getting wet.
Yeah.
That was my favorite thing about closed cockpit cars.
Yep.
I'm like, I actually like this a lot more. I can feel my hands. But yeah, I kind of like let there be a gap.
Yep.
And it was a shortened race too. Normally it's 45 minutes. It was down to 30 minutes because there was like really bad rain. So I backed off just enough to like see where the stripes were on the ground, the puddles, before I pushed, because I didn't want to write this thing off.
No kidding.
Yeah. I'm like, this is my chance, man. Like, I can't write this car off. There's one car.
Yep.
And it's easy to bend them up.
No kidding.
It's not like single seater where you use bolt corners on.
Yep.
This thing is like one piece aluminum. Like, you hit it and
throw it in the garbage bin.
Oh, it's a sim chassis at that point.
Yep.
So I let a gap develop, and I was like, okay, I can see where I'm going. I know where to drive.
Yep.
Head down, and I was 5 seconds quicker than the entire field.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So
they'd never seen that, and I won the race. Like, it was crazy. I've never felt that sort of domination.
Yep.
In my whole career. But that was, for me, that was the moment where it kind of changed everything within the team. Even they're like, oh, okay, like there is. We thought there was something there, and now there's definitely something.
Okay.
So they went full throttle on it.
So then, that season shakes out. You end up second in the championship
By 2 points. We won the team championship though.
Okay.
Which was good.
Now fast forward, because you
won the next year.
Okay. Yeah. Oh right. So you did a second year and you won that championship.
Yeah.
Now, that team, Carlos and his son, want to go race Daytona.
Yeah, well, how it all happened, that's a cool story in its own as well. There are so many like cool stories within each facet of my career along the way.
Yeah.
And involving other people as well, which is really neat. But we won the championship in Canada. We won the North American Cup, which was a combination of the U.S. series and Canadian series.
Okay.
So I ended up winning the North American deal. So Carlos, his son Michael, ended up winning the Gold Cup.
Okay.
In the U.S.
Cool.
And Jesse Lazar won the Platinum, which is like the equivalent of what I was racing in the U.S.
Okay.
So I won Canada and North America. Jesse Lazar won the U.S. portion. Michael won the U.S. Gold Cup.
Yep.
Carlos wanted to race Daytona.
Yep.
And we got a factory driver from Porsche, which is funny enough, the guy who back in GP3 when I was supposed to be a Porsche Junior.
Yep.
That same guy, Michael Christensen,
took the seat.
He didn't take. He was one of the guys that had an opportunity as well.
Yep.
Because he was talented, but didn't have the good team. He wasn't in the right team. But he did really well with Porsche, and he became a factory driver.
Okay.
So the 5 of us. So it's a cool story of how we all got together. And Carlos announced it at Road Atlanta, the last race of the season for like the U.S. and it was the North American deal together.
Yep.
He goes in the banquet and he's like, and this is all like seat of the pants. Like we're at the dinner table. He's like, "You want to do Daytona?" I'm like, "Yeah, obviously."
Yeah. Are you crazy?
Yeah. I'm like, of course. He's like, "Okay, we're gonna do Daytona. I'm getting a car for you and Michael."
Nice.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, awesome.
Yep.
He's like, "So you want to help me pick some co-drivers?" I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "What about Jesse? Like, why not take all the GT3 Cup guys?"
Yeah.
Like, I know that if these guys can win in Cup, they can win anything.
Okay.
It's so true, even today. If you can win in Porsche GT3 Cup, you take the guy right out of the Cup Series, put him in any car, and the guy's in the front.
Because of the similarity in how the car, like one, competitiveness, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But two, like how those cars drive.
They're not the easiest cars to perfect, to like extract the most out of, because rear engine balance is a bit funny. So to the braking, understanding how to brake at its maximum capability, there's a certain technique involved. There's one thing braking, and then there's another thing to like brake correctly.
Sure.
For that specific vehicle.
Okay.
And you get more and more in tune with it the more you drive, and you'll understand. But it's hard to explain. But you get so connected with the tires and the weight distribution that it becomes easy to drive anything else.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it becomes
so
easy.
you think those are great training tools. So you say, so there's 5 drivers or 4?
We ended up doing it with 5. Normally, traditionally, you do 4 drivers,
Right.
or even 3 for a pro car.
Sure.
But for a pro-am effort,
Yep.
Which is GTD,
Mm-hmm.
we picked 5.
Okay.
Carlos wanted to drive minimum drive time just to be part of it with his son.
Sure.
So
Who'd you pick?
So we got Jesse Lazar,
Okay.
platinum champion in the U.S.
Yep.
Michael De Quesada,
Okay.
gold champion in the U.S. Myself.
Yep.
Carlos wanted to do it, of course. He's funding the whole thing.
Yep.
And as he should.
Yep.
And Michael Christensen,
Yep.
Porsche factory driver. So
Okay,
the 5
cool.
of us go.
Yep.
And we have like 4. Well, Michael's never done it. I've never done it. Jesse's never done it. Michael Christensen's done it in the RSR,
Yep.
Porsche RSR, so a class up.
Yeah.
And Carlos has won it before with Porsche in 2007.
Right. With Dumoulin.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was a crazy 10-year anniversary of it. Like, let's go do it again.
And you guys won it.
And we won it first time. Like, we were like, we were quick. We were quick-ish.
Yep.
But there were other cars that were dominant.
Okay.
And that was like my first take on balance of performance. I didn't know what balance of performance, BOP, was.
Okay.
But some cars were really fast, and sandbagging. I just discovered what sand was. I thought it was at the beach only, but it actually goes to the racetrack. So it's a huge game that you have to play. Like, some people do it, some manufacturers do it, some don't. So all through practice, we're like, oh, we're pretty good. And then quality, it's like, oh, we just got smashed by like 7 or 8 tenths.
Wow.
It's like, okay, we're not close anymore.
So you didn't have to. So they're sandbagging in practice, so other teams don't work on their shit.
More so that you don't get penalized with like a weight penalty or engine restrictor,
I see.
things like
Okay,
that.
okay.
So you want to always have a little in your pocket.
Yep.
Essentially,
I get it.
you want to have really deep pockets.
That helps in racing.
Yeah. I'm gonna show up to the track with pockets down to my ankles next time.
Yeah. No kidding.
Why are you leaking sand?
Deep pockets with money and sand. That's good. That's good. So, okay. So that's got to be a huge win in your career.
Well, yeah. Our goal was just to not damage the car.
Yep.
Just survive to the end and have a good car that doesn't have a mark on it.
Yep.
And we did that. And sure enough, we were laps down. Okay, in the race. Wow. Like 2 laps down. Carlos got tagged. Didn't break anything.
Yep.
It ripped, like maybe a 2-inch rip in the vinyl.
Yep.
Like someone took a kind of a blade and like sideways went across it. But he got tapped and spun in turn 1. This is like really early in the race. And he couldn't refire the car.
Oh, no.
So we went like 2 laps down. And I remember, again, in the rain.
Yep.
It rained for 18 hours out of 24. So the guys were like really uncomfortable in the rain, and it was tough. It was so cold. You couldn't switch the tire on. Like, the tire pressure was low, the tire temperature was low. So it was like you're driving on ice. So you had to really go with confidence, like first lap
to get the heat.
You had to like smash it first lap.
Yep.
Brakes, like max pressure. We have ABS at this point, so it's not a concern to lock up. You just can literally slide off,
right?
If anything, or not slow down.
Yeah.
So I remember I drove for nearly 4 hours when it first started like properly raining. Because they knew I was good in the rain from the Toronto Indy thing.
Right.
And my next time driving in the rain was there.
Okay.
They're like, yeah, I think he's going to do it.
Nice.
So they put me in the car. I made up 2 laps on pace, legit.
That's unbelievable.
Like several seconds faster than the entire field. Unlapped myself twice.
Unbelievable.
In 4 hours, just under 4 hours. And I have the video on my phone, and it still makes me like, it gives me the chills. No, when I got out of the car, everyone in the pit box was cheering when I got out. And
that's
I was like,
awesome.
I was like, okay, we're back in this thing.
Yeah, that's a good drive.
So we went a lap down again. We had a issue with I don't know who it was.
Yeah.
One of the other guys had an issue and like cut through the bus stop and got a penalty for it. So we had like a drive-through or something, and we went a lap down. And again, I went back, and we got it back. Or we got 2 laps down again. We got 1 lap back, and on a pass around, we got another lap back.
Okay, yeah.
So we're there.
Yep.
And with 2 hours to go, that was my last stint. So it just started drying up. Like, I did 1 stint in the wet, and then we just transitioned to slicks for the last like 3 hours of the race. And we're there-ish.
Yep.
We're like P8, P7, and on the lead lap. but we had no pace versus the Ferrari, like the Ferrari at the time. They were so quick.
Yeah.
And they were about to lap us. Michael Christensen just got in the car, and they were just about to lap us, and their engine blew. Like on our gear, like
No
right
way.
on our bumper, out of turn 6 onto the banking. They were going to pass us guaranteed right there.
Yeah.
They blew the engine.
Wow.
Yeah. Safety car. We went back to the front, to the line with everyone.
Yeah.
And the guys in front had damage a little bit,
Yeah.
a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and we had a clean car.
Unbelievable.
And last stint, Michael Christensen, like he pumped he just
did his thing.
did the job. Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
And it was just everyone on the team did the perfect job. What we
That's
were
cool.
expected to do.
That's cool. Well, we only got a little bit more time, and I
Yeah.
really want to pin you down on sim racing.
Yeah.
When did you get into sim racing?
I got into sim racing during the pandemic.
Really?
Pretty much. Yeah. I
Did you have a sim before?
Yeah, I built something up, very, I wouldn't say basic,
Yep.
but like extruded aluminum profiles and stuff. Like it was like a whatever.
Okay.
At the time, then I evolved that
Yep.
to something better. But it was 2000. I think in 2017 or no 2018. I
Yep.
probably got one.
Okay. And that's when you got on really on iRacing and were doing racing.
Yeah, with virtual reality goggles.
Okay.
At the time.
Did you doing a bunch of that? Did you notice a big jump in performance IRL in real life?
IRL.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a big jump. Like I think I got comfortable learning the tracks, and that
Okay.
was big for me. So yes, I guess you could say like it made a big difference.
Yep.
Because some of the tracks, especially in IMSA, I'd never been to.
Right.
So 2017, I'd use it mostly. I'd jump on it like once a month just
Okay.
to do some private sessions. I never did official racing. I never interacted with anyone online.
Sure.
I just did my own thing.
Okay.
Loaded up a private session.
Yep.
Learn the lefts and rights. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm ready for the track.
Okay.
So I show up. It was better than what I did in GP3 because I had no clue what the circuits were.
Right.
So I had to
Yeah.
just guess. So
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
want to guess.
Yeah.
I knew how to turn left and right. My brain was programmed. But
Yeah,
during
yeah.
the pandemic, that's when
Because that's when,
It got
during
serious.
the pandemic, if people don't remember or weren't paying attention to motorsports, like everyone jumped on iRacing,
Oh, yeah.
on the sim. IndyCar, NASCAR, everyone just went.
IMSA, everyone.
Yeah.
F1.
And they've like filmed it. Like they broadcasted it.
Yeah.
Even the Canadian NASCAR series, they broadcasted it.
Yeah, I did those races.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
Okay.
they were on TSN.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
insane.
My steering wheel disconnected like 8 times that race. I was coming to the white flag leading, and my wheel disconnected.
Oh my goodness.
There was EMI, electromagnetic interference.
Okay.
And I didn't realize I didn't have my wheel. No, it wasn't that. It was plugged into a USB, an unpowered, like it wasn't powered USB hub.
Oh my
So
goodness.
the USB was like basically not able to power it enough. So
Yeah.
that's why it kept disconnecting and reconnecting. And I'm like, what is going on with this thing?
Yeah.
And it cost me that. And I was like, it's on TV and everything.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So during the pandemic, you got serious about your setup.
Yeah.
You started doing freaking like everything you do in racing. You started doing well, clearly. Now you're
At
like,
first I was getting smashed like
okay,
bad.
Okay.
Within certain groups,
Yep.
I was doing well, and within certain cars, because I had enough time to experience them and to maximize it.
yep,
But when I jumped from the things I was having fun with, like a V8 supercar, like an older one,
sure,
and when the pandemic first hit,
Yep.
I was driving with like crazy drivers. Like I have a WhatsApp group
yep,
of like legends.
okay.
Jensen Button's in there,
Oh, really?
Max Verstappen, Lando Norris,
Wow.
Lance Stroll, Latifi was. I mean, I know Lance and Nicky.
Yep.
But man, who else? Montoya was driving with us. Castroneves.
Really?
Like no joke, Barrichello and
That's a
Kanan.
legit-
I know Kanan really well now.
Yep.
He's
Because
like
of iRacing.
a buddy of mine. Like, yeah, it's crazy. We FaceTime each other
Wow.
and stuff. It's really, really neat.
Huh.
Because he also streams and we've connected on
Okay.
that.
So you're on.
But we're racing these like F1 guys, and I'm telling you, it's like 50 or 60 guys that it's like unbelievable. It's like
Wow.
how we're all driving, and that's when I first started streaming because I saw Lando was streaming. I'm like,
Okay.
oh, that's so cool. Like I want to show what I'm doing too.
Show the people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I'm like, no one's gonna watch me.
Yeah.
But when it first started, nobody else was doing it, but then everybody jumped on the streaming thing, so
Okay.
it completely got saturated.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
my it was like 100 people or 200 people watching at that time, I was like, oh my God, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And then it went down to like 30 or 20 people. I'm like, oh, okay,
Right.
well, I guess. Hi guys.
So
not that matters, but it's almost like the only metric you can use for if you're doing a good job.
right. And so many metrics aren't perfect, but views are pretty good metric.
Yeah.
Can guys make a living on iRacing?
Yeah, I would say like a decent living, but
How do you get paid?
prize money mostly. And
Okay.
there's some sponsors involved. But I'm actually still trying to understand the economics of sim racing because it seems really skewed from like the team's perspective for what the drivers get out of it. And
Okay.
I'm not quite understanding it. So I ask questions. Now that I know a lot of the pro sim drivers, I'm asking like, what does your team provide for you? Like, you have all these sponsors on the car, but like, do you see any of it? Like, how does that work?
Right.
And a lot of guys are just like genuinely on teams because they have good people around them as well, like other fast drivers. So
I
they
see.
can, look at data and push each other.
Okay.
But there's no like monetary benefit. And I'm like, that doesn't seem right. Like it doesn't seem fair. And maybe I don't understand it fully at this point.
So there's teams, there's sim teams.
Huge teams, huge organizations.
And what do the teams provide? They do setups for the cars?
No, the drivers make the setups.
Okay. So
But they'll have engineers. I think the big teams will have like engineers helping on
Wow.
setup. They have like full pit gantries, like pit stands that in facilities. Like there's esport hubs now where there's just 10 sims around and they work out of that hub. It's a house of, they used to have houses. Now
Yeah.
they have actual like warehouses and there's there's a meeting room and there's all of the telemetry and stuff. It's like proper.
that's insane. Just for sim racing.
And that's part of the reason why I also kind of don't like the whole competitive aspect of sim racing because I find to be very fast in sim racing, it takes so much time.
Okay.
Whereas if you're going to be fast in real racing, time is precious. You
Yes.
don't get time.
Yes.
And that's something I like when you don't know what car and don't know what track you're going to drive and you just have to wing it and like feel it out.
Yep.
When you have unlimited time to practice, you know how much like they're putting in 100 hours of practice.
Right.
100 hours.
Just to be perfect.
You're lucky if you get like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Sometimes like all last year or even this year, I get 3 laps before the race.
Yep.
It's like,
Yep.
and I don't qualify. I just like, it's like, here, 3 laps. Oh, we had an issue or whatever. The other guy needs more time.
Yeah.
In sim racing, 100 hours, my brain would be fried.
No, that would be insane.
That's not of interest to me. I love having fun on the sim. I love creating content. That's why I go more to the content side.
Okay.
I am competitive. I
Yeah.
don't like losing.
Yep.
But I won't really engage in those competitions
Okay.
as much unless I know that there's some sort of like proper benefit
Sure.
for me to do that.
Okay. Now
Time
explain
is
to
very
me.
valuable.
Man, you can't be staying up all night on the sim. You got a fiance too. Explain to me the difference because I see these big esports championships and they pay money
Yeah.
to win. What's the difference? Totally different. That's a video game. The sim is something else. Like, is there
what do you
like
mean?
NASCAR?
No, it's all through
Is it on iRacing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's bigger prize purses in NASCAR than I would say in road racing.
Okay.
I think NASCAR is like 120,000 US
To win the championship.
I want to say for the champion, something around that.
Yep.
Like, I don't know. It's in the $100,000 to like $150,000 range.
Cool.
But the purse is $300,000 for everyone. So
Yep.
you get paid down the line.
Yep.
Whereas in the road racing side, it's less. It's like 50,000 for
Okay.
the total prize purse, I believe.
Right.
Or maybe more, maybe 100,000.
Okay.
I don't know. Like,
Have you ever gotten
It's-
a prize money from iRacing?
Yeah, I got a little bit, but honestly, I'd rather do coaching. It's
Yeah.
better.
Sure.
I know it's guaranteed.
So you do coaching on iRacing.
Yeah,
And a lot of
that's
these
blowing up.
really.
People are getting more and more competitive.
Yep.
Especially, I didn't realize. So there's a rating system in iRacing.
Mhm.
Okay, that I knew of.
Okay.
And I had never paid attention to like getting my I rating up.
Okay.
So it's a system based off of results, and so where you finish, there's safety rating, which is, are you driving off the track? Are you bumping into people? So that's one element, and then I rating is based on, I think, a little bit off of safety rating,
Okay.
but mostly off of where you finish.
Right.
So most of the people on the service, I'd say like 95% are in the 1,000 to 1,500 range
Okay.
of iRating. Okay. And right now I'm like 6,000 plus, like 6,200. But there's guys that are 9,000. Like I would say about 100 guys that are in the 8,000, 9,000, 10,000. There's only 4 and 10,000 range.
Okay. Where's like Ty Majeski?
I don't know actually. Okay. I don't really. There's road racing iRating, and then there's
oval guys.
There's dirt, and there's dirt oval.
Okay.
So there's 4 disciplines.
Yep.
Most guys just focus on like one.
Their discipline. Yeah.
I've tried a few NASCAR like oval races and stuff, and it's really really fun actually. I kind of enjoy it.
Yeah.
I've never done an oval in real life. You have?
Yeah. A handful.
You like them?
A handful. It's a different sport.
Yeah.
It's a different sport, especially the short track stuff. I could imagine like a Daytona or Talladega would be definitely different. It'd be fun. It'd be more like going back to 4-stroke go-karting and like, all right, where do I want to be on?
long track?
Yeah, exactly. I want to be 4th on the last lap. Yeah. Something like that. But the short track ovals require so much focus. It's insane.
Yeah.
Like the time between corners is 0. You never even get straight.
Yeah, you're constantly fighting.
Yeah, like
I watched the races.
Tears are leaking out the right side of your eyes. Like you got to remember to breathe. You got to remember to blink.
Tears of joy?
No. Tears of just like eyes bleeding with debris and brake dust in them.
God.
But yeah, different. I feel like, well, you do well in it, but you should do more of the Canadian Pinty's races.
Dude, I would love to.
Yeah.
I still to this day think it's the best car I've ever driven for fun, for enjoyment.
Big bias ply tires.
Oh, it's so much fun because that's, if you want to talk about like not looking at data and stuff, that's it. Like you just drive.
You're not allowed. Yeah.
Seat of the pants.
Yeah.
Figure it out. And I love that.
Shift at 7,100 RPM.
Oh,
that's all you get.
Man, it's like manage your brakes, manage your tires. Like there's management involved.
Yeah.
With modern day racing, there's like there's no equipment management. It's like
full pin.
Yeah. It's full attack all the time. And there's no room for a difference in drivers. Like as long as you're competent, you can drive a GT3 like decently competitive where you're not going to be a burden to a team.
Sure.
Which makes it incredibly difficult to outweigh or overpower someone that brings money to a team.
Right.
And there's so much of that going on right now.
Yeah.
But I do love the NASCAR stuff.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind. But the problem is this is no knock to it, but it's almost like there's no progression. Like that is it. And that is a great end point because you can make a great living in it.
It's cool. I like that. Like it's not like the ladder system in the US where you go run your K&N ARCA stuff, then you go to trucks, then you go to Xfinity, then you go to Cup.
Yeah.
Here, you can do that when you're 15 or 16 and try and get a stepping stone and then go move to the States. But guys like Tagliani, guys like Ranger are making it an end in itself.
Yeah.
And it's a Canadian championship, which is kind of cool.
Well, it is very cool because you can have a normal life.
Yes.
I know right now I'm a Mercedes AMG expert driver, which means I'm part of their official driver lineup.
Yep.
And although I'm not like, right now it's my first season in that role, a lot of their full-on like experienced guys are 25, 30 weekends a year racing.
Yep.
Think about that from, a normal life perspective. You can't have a family that, you see your kids or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're about to have a kid, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah.
Dude, 10 weekends a year and 5 of them an hour from my house doesn't seem like a bad season.
Yeah. And if you can make a living doing that, that's so much fun.
Yep.
You do what you love. It's an amazing car. So fun. It's a completely different life.
Totally. Yeah.
But right now I'm enjoying sports cars.
Yeah.
I want to see where that goes. And the sim stuff is unreal. There's huge opportunities. I think more on the team management side.
Okay.
I love giving the younger guys opportunities, and that's kind of what I'm doing right now.
Yep.
I have a few little sub teams I'm managing and giving guys opportunity and getting them paid. I think I'm the only guy paying people.
You're paying guys to
on
race
the sim through sponsors I find or whatever.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for you.
So, I mean, I'm a firm believer in giving the person that's doing a job for you what they deserve.
For sure.
Because if they get, I've always been a firm believer in asking for what I want and what I know I'm worth.
Yep.
And I will say no. If it's not worth it for me, I'll say no. And I think not a lot of people have that respect for themselves.
Right.
They'll just say yes to anything.
Yep.
And I think saying no is more powerful sometimes if it's the right time to say no.
For sure. To a team, when they say, hey, do you want to run for free? And you say, no, actually, I think I need X.
Yeah.
They go,
Especially when it's November and they call you back in December because they're strapped.
Yeah.
And like, well, it's just so funny because now my budget is a little bit higher. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. No, that's good. Man, I hate that we're out of time here. I got to have you back. We got to do like a whole episode on like sim racing. And like, I really want to understand it because it's a world that I don't get. Like, I've just got a sim now. I'm starting to run it. And I think there's a lot of speed for myself.
Yeah.
Having not much track time in general.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to be learned there for me. Yeah.
It's even more so on the NASCAR side because you have way less track time.
Yeah.
So it's a great tool. It's the coolest thing ever. It's getting very realistic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're getting real drivers now. Like iRacing is not now, but even in the past, real drivers are helping to develop the software and the physics of the game. There's some things that are still a little bit skewed, but they're definitely work in progress, and it's in the right direction, which is key. Yeah. So one day we're gonna have a 1v1.
We'll stream it.
Yeah, we're gonna get you dialed in, and we'll have a 1v1 for pink slips.
Yeah. For the sim. Yeah, you can. I'll sell you my $11 iRacing car.
Yeah.
Or I'll give it to you.
iRacing credits.
Yeah.
No.
Oh man, that's good. Thanks so much for coming on, man.
No, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, this is good, and we'll do it again. We'll do it again when we have more time. Tell the people where they can find you. You probably have a million platforms people can follow you on.
Yeah, I'm trying to dial it down a little bit because time.
Yes.
Time is everything, and I don't have enough of it. I don't think any of us do.
No.
As we get older, but Twitch is a streaming platform. Twitch.tv/Moradness is where I'm spending like 3 to 4 nights a week.
Okay.
And it's a really great way to like engage because it's so hard to read messages. Like, I don't know how many messages you get on your DMs, but man, it's like I try my best.
Yep.
And I really want to connect with everyone, but that's a great way. You have me live. We can interact, and it's as if someone's beside you,
Yep.
Which is really, really neat. But Instagram is Daniel Morad, Facebook, same thing. But otherwise, just the racetrack or online.
Yeah, man. Good luck this year.
Thanks, man.
Alrighty. That was Daniel Morad. His passion for racing is evident. I feel like we could have kept talking for hours and hours. He is a real race car driver, a serious wheelman, someone to pay attention to every time you see him on the starting list for a race. If you guys liked the episode, share it with a friend, hit subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Peace.